Chapter 926. Netherworld Body. Qing'er stared at the white-robed figure in front of her. She seemed to have heard her master mentioning this ability before. It seemed to be the innate ability of a female immortal emperor from the northern domain. Could it be that this devilishly beautiful maiden had something to do with that great character? A look of bewilderment appeared on Qin Wentian's face. It seemed like Qing'er knew something about this. The silhouette of the white-robed maiden flickered as she vanished from sight. Little Rascal turned his gaze to the horizons before he spoke to Qin Wenin. I can feel a summoning energy growing stronger and stronger. You guys can return first. The countenance of Qin Wentian and Qing'er flickered. The energy in their bodies was slowly dissipating. It was truly dangerous to remain here for too long. Also, now that the space around them had changed, it wouldn't be so easy for them to exit the underworld mountains. That mysterious figure is extremely dangerous. Qin Wentian spoke to Little Rascal. He was worried as well. At this moment, Little Rascal sped towards a certain direction. He rushed into a crevice in the mountain range, and there seemed to be a completely different world within. On both sides of the crevice, there were blood-colored runes engraved on the walls, looking extremely terrifying. The Netherworld Maiden also arrived here. She stared ahead as she stepped into the crevice, wanting to barge through it directly. However, the runes on the walls of the crevice lit up, transforming into a terrifying energy that slammed into her, causing her to be bounced back. Qin Wentian stared ahead. He only felt the runic inscriptions on the mountain rampart transforming into a terrifying energy, instantly causing his entire body to tremble violently. After which, a thunderous boom rang out as a towering and terrifying intent manifested in his mind, wanting to kill him. Retreat. Qin Wentian pulled Qing'er along as he retreated. This place was extremely dangerous, but at this moment, Qin Wentian saw Little Rascal walking into the crevice. Boundless runic light shone on him, yet he actually wasn't destroyed. Qin Wentian saw Little Rascal walking step by step towards the depths of the mountain. Although his steps were slow, he didn't stop. This made him feel that there was a mysterious energy calling out to him. That mysterious woman coldly glanced at Qin Wentian and Qing'er. She seemed to be somewhat resentful. After which, her silhouette flickered and disappeared. It seemed like she couldn't enter this place. Let's go back too. Qing'er said in a crisp voice. Qin Wentian nodded. Yes, the little guy seems to have his own destiny. Let's find a way out. The underworld mountain was like an aurora, filled with a mysterious aura. However, it seemed to be an independent space with no way out. Qing'er took out a treasure that exuded an intense spatial energy. It resembled a leaf. Qing'er waved her hands, causing the leaf to enlarge. Both Qing'er and Qin Wentian walked up to it. Momentarily, an intense spatial glow enveloped the two of them. This is a life-saving treasure given to me by my master. This underworld mountain is a mysterious space. Spatial treasures should be able to penetrate it. As the sound of Qing'er's voice faded, a brilliant light flashed as the leaf transformed into a beam of light, shooting towards a certain direction. Qin Wentian closed his eyes. He held onto Qing'er's hand, only to see that Qing'er's hand was exceptionally soft. Her hand trembled lightly, but she didn't evade, allowing Qin Wentian to hold onto her hand. Qin Wentian only felt as though he was shuttling through space. The spatial energy contained within this treasure was too terrifying, causing him to feel somewhat uncomfortable. The two of them held onto each other tightly, and an intense tremor ran through their bodies. They stopped, and when they opened their eyes, Qin Wentian discovered that they had already arrived at the central region of the city of ancient emperors. What a powerful treasure! Qin Wentian silently mused. Being trapped in the underworld mountain, a treasure like this was much more useful compared to the strength of a human. Many people below inclined their heads and stared at the two who suddenly appeared in the air. Strange expressions appeared on their faces as their gazes landed on Qing. Spatial energy. Could it be the number 5 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Princess Qing? Someone murmured. In the battle half a year ago, there was a high possibility that Princess Qing'er and Qin Wentian were lovers. Now that they were holding hands, there was a high possibility that the two of them were Princess Qing and Qin Wenyin. Qing wanted to retract her hand, but Qin Wenyin held onto it tightly. She blinked and stared at Qin Wenyin. "Why are you still not letting go?" Qin Wenyin smiled and reluctantly released his hand. He couldn't help but squeeze it a little, causing Qin to stare at him. However, Qin Wenyin acted as though nothing had happened. He continued, "The underworld mountain is truly mysterious. I wonder what it is exactly." Seeing that Qin Wenyin was intentionally changing the topic, Qin could only turn her gaze away, ignoring him. "It's been half a year. I wonder how Mingchen and Qingxian are doing." Qin Wenyin spoke in a low voice. "Are you Qin Wenyin?" Someone below heard Qin Wentian's voice, as they stared at Qin Wenyin. "That's me, Qin." Qin Wenyan nodded. "Are you talking about your junior brother Jun Mengchen and junior sister Zi Qingxian? They're not having a good time now. The Twin Stars Alliance is hunting them down everywhere. If it weren't for their luck, they would have been captured," that person spoke. Qin Wentian's expression sank as his gaze turned cold. "Sir, do you know where they are now?" "If I knew, the people of the Twin Stars Alliance would have long since known. But I'm sure they're hiding somewhere. The Twin Stars Alliance today is no longer the same as before. They're now the #1 power in the city of ancient emperors, and their strength is terrifying to the extreme," that person stated. Qin Wenyin asked in bewilderment, "That battle back then should have weakened their strength a little, right? How can they still be called the #1 power? Do you still not know? Half a year ago, you unleashed that sort of destruction, and you should have paid a heavy price for it, right? The Twin Stars Alliance has indeed been weakened, and the Shao sect is on the verge of collapse. However, Xian Yang and Shao Lingyue have formed an alliance, and the Twin Stars Alliance and the Shao sect can be considered to have formed an alliance as well. The #4 and #6 rankers of the City of Ancient Emperors rankings have formed their own power, becoming the new Twin Stars Alliance. Many geniuses from the City of Ancient Emperors also joined them, making it even more terrifying." That person continued. Qin Wenyin started to worry for Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian. The Twin Stars Alliance and the Shao sect were both ranked in the top 3. Not only so, the Twin Stars Alliance has also issued a bounty. If anyone manages to find you, Qin Wenyin, or your 2 friends, there will be a heavy reward. I'm afraid there are already people reporting this to the Twin Stars Alliance, another person laughed. I, Qin Wenyin, have also issued a bounty. If anyone manages to find my friends, inform me immediately. I'll reward them with 5 immortal ranked weapons, Qin Wenyin stated. Really? The person who spoke earlier had a meaningful smile on his face. Qin Wenyin nodded. I, Qin, will definitely keep my word. Fine, take out the 5 immortal ranked weapons and I'll tell you where they are right now, that person spoke. Momentarily, Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at him. You really know? You and Princess Qing even killed Xian Xing and heavily injured Xian Yang. Do you think I'd dare to lie to you? That person continued laughing. A sinister smile could be seen on his face. Qin Wentian, I advise you to hurry up. If not, if they encounter any mishaps, be easy. Qin Wenyin waved his hands as 5 immortal ranked weapons flew out, flying towards that person. His gaze was incomparably sharp. He knew that this person knew of Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingshuan's whereabouts and wanted to extort him. But so what of it? There were no mediocre people in the City of Ancient Emperors. Everyone here was a descendant of immortal kings and emperors, and this person had no connection with him at all. Straightforward. That person waved his hand, keeping the immortal ranked weapons. After that, he pointed to a direction and spoke. Follow this direction and continue forward. When you see a tower-shaped building, you will see traces of a battle there. Let's hope you can still make it in time if you rush there now. Qing let's go. A wind rock rune bone appeared in Qin Wentian's hand. Instantly, a raging wind enveloped him and Qing as they sped towards the direction pointed out by the other party. Traces of a battle. This meant that Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingshuan's whereabouts had already been exposed. Even if the other party didn't say anything, they would know about it soon. Hold on. Qin Wenyin had a look of worry on his face. That person didn't lie to Qin Wenyin. In the direction Qin Wenyin and the others were heading towards, there was a pagoda with many experts gathered in front of it, as though they were spectating a battle. There were 5 geniuses surrounding 2 people, and the battle had already lasted for quite some time. The 2 of them were extremely weak. The female was only at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon, and it seemed that she hadn't broken through for too long. As for the pretty-looking young man, he was only at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon, and both of them were already injured. Of the 5 opponents, 3 were at the 8th level and 2 were at the 9th level. One of them was even a ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Tu Teng. He was extremely powerful. Those who could rank on the Immortal Ascension rankings were all characters who stood at the very peak. Tu Teng was over 3 meters tall and had a gigantic physique. He was bare-chested, and his bronze-colored skin exuded a sense of strength. He was one of the strongest warriors in the Twin Stars Alliance. Still putting up a last-ditch struggle? Tu Teng watched as Zi Qingxian transformed into a terrifying divine falcon. The light of the divine falcon illuminated all 8 directions, and she was still madly clashing against a 9th-level ascendant. Tu Teng stepped out as his constellation manifested in the air, manifesting numerous gigantic axes that could cleave the heavens and earth apart. Tu Teng waved his hands as a gigantic golden heaven-cleaving axe manifested. He ferociously cleaved downwards, and in an instant, millions of gigantic axes slashed out, capable of cleaving apart the heavens and earth, capable of destroying everything. Master Tu Teng's heaven-cleaving axe art is said to be able to cleave apart the heavens and earth when cultivated to the extreme. When the experts saw Tu Teng acting, they knew that these 2 wouldn't be able to continue struggling. Initially, Tu Teng thought that the 4 chosen would be able to defeat them very quickly, but he didn't expect that these 2 fellows would still be able to continue fighting after such a long period of time. Zi Qingxuan's countenance turned incredibly unsightly when she saw this scene. The might of this attack caused her heart to tremble. A shrill cry rang out as the countless divine falcons flew towards the heaven-cleaving axe, slashing apart one after another. A gigantic golden flame divine falcon appeared, blocking in front of the gigantic axe. However, Tu Teng's constellation continued blasting downwards as the gigantic axe continued cleaving downwards, directly cleaving apart the divine falcon. Pooh! Zi Qingxuan's countenance turned pale as she directly coughed out a mouthful of blood. Her body was flung through the air as her aura grew increasingly weak. Senior sister! Jun Mingchen roared in rage. However, with 3 8th-level ascendants ganging up on him, he couldn't even take care of himself. How could he help Zi Qingxian? Chapter 927. Jun Mingchen was in a state of rage. The clear sky worldly diagram shone brightly in the air as his body was clad in king armor. Each of his attacks contained the aura of a king, borrowing the power of an ancient king. However, he was currently surrounded by 3 8th-level ascendants. In the city of ancient emperors, all of them were descendants of immortal kings and emperors. Their cultivation arts and innate techniques were all extremely powerful, and it was already extremely difficult for them to jump levels to fight, let alone fighting against 3. Jun Mingchen's roars shook the heavens, but he still couldn't break free from the encirclement of the 3. He was being suppressed by them, and there was also the 9th-level ascendant who fought against Zi Qingxian earlier. Tu Teng walked step by step towards the injured Zi Qingxian. Every step he took caused the earth to tremble. When he saw the ruthlessness in Zi Qingxuan's eyes, he couldn't help but to speak coldly. It's best not to borrow the power of a divine weapon. I won't take your life, I only want to capture you. But if you borrow the power of an immortal weapon, the consequences would be unimaginable. Zi Qingxuan's beautiful eyes flickered as her expression turned incredibly unsightly. The strength of the 2 of you isn't bad, being able to endure for so long is truly impressive. But no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. Just leave with me. I won't torture such a beauty like you. Tu Teng's silhouette flickered as he moved closer to Zi Qingxian. Zi Qingxuan's body flashed once more, but Tu Teng only snorted coldly and blasted out with his palms. His palms were as sharp as a giant axe, directly grabbing onto Zi Qingshuan's body and lifting her up. If you continue to be dishonest, don't blame me for being ruthless to women. Tu Teng coldly spoke. After which, he turned to Jun Mingchen and spoke to the people beside him, quickly capture him. 5 of you bullying 2 people a level lower than you. Don't you feel any shame? At this moment, a faint voice drifted out from the crowd. It seemed that this voice belonged to a genius who was spectating from the side. It's best not to interfere in our matters. Tu Teng's gaze swept over, staring at the person who spoke. This person was a slender and handsome young man. His countenance was calm, but his eyes gave off a demonic feeling. It was as though his eyes could revolve, resembling a whirlpool, causing the gazes of others to be sucked into it. Zi Qingxian was captured by Tu Teng. She stared at the person who spoke as a strange light flickered in her eyes. She actually recognized this person. Also, she was somewhat taken aback that this person would actually step out to speak. The silhouette of the young man who spoke flickered as he directly entered Jun Mingchen's battlefield. His eyes grew even more terrifying, exuding a demonic aura, akin to a pair of eyes of reincarnation. With a single glance, the 3 geniuses surrounding Jun Mingchen all felt countless scenes flashing through their minds. Their attacks involuntarily faltered. Be careful of his eyes. Tu Teng roared, his voice shaking everyone's hearts. The 3 of them immediately closed their eyes, but the scene in their minds remained the same, as if they had fallen into an illusion. The person who attacked was actually Hua Taishu. Boom! Jun Mingchen seized the opportunity and blasted out with a chaotic world king fist, directly blasting one of them through the air. He then dashed towards Tu Teng as he roared in rage, "Release my senior sister." Tu Teng swept his gaze over to Jun Mingchen before turning his gaze onto Hua Taishu. His gaze was still as demonic as ever, and the 2 8th-level ascendants turned silent under his gaze. Tu Teng, you haven't captured him yet? At this moment, a few more figures arrived. One of them was a genius of the Shao sect, an expert on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Xia Qianhan. There's still one more. Tu Teng stared at Jun Mingchen as he spoke. What's the point of struggling? The disparity between us is too great. Even if you have helpers, they are merely at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. They can't threaten me at all. Release them. At this moment, a cold voice drifted over. Tu Teng furrowed his brows. After which, he saw a hurricane gusting by as 2 silhouettes appeared in the air. It was a pair of immortal companions. Senior brother, Jun Mingchen called out. The countenances of Tu Teng, Xia Qianhan, and the other geniuses of the Twin Stars Alliance turned heavy. Qin Wenyan and Princess Qin had appeared. This matter was going to be troublesome. Qin was ranked number 5 on the Immortal Ascension rankings and had defeated Shaolin Yue before. Release them. Qin Wenyan stared at Tu Teng as he coldly spoke. Tu Teng stared at the sharpness in Qin Wenyan's eyes as a wild light gleamed in them. He then spoke, Qin Wenyan, I heard that you've cultivated the God's hand. I really wish to experience it for myself. Can you grant me some guidance? I'll grant you your wish. As the sound of Qin Wenyan's voice faded, cracking sounds rang out. His body abruptly expanded in size as resplendent runic light circulated around him. His palms shone with a dazzling light as a terrifying aura gushed forth. The God's hand appeared, exuding an indomitable aura. Qin Wenyan expanded his body so that the God's hand would be more compatible with his palms. You guys help me guard her. Tu Teng passed Zi Qingxian to Xia Qianhan and the others. A sharp sword was pressed against Zi Qingshuan's neck. Xia Qianhan then spoke to Tu Teng, we should retreat now. No, how can I be satisfied if I don't experience the might of the God's hand? Tu Teng released his constellation as he stepped out, staring straight at Qin Wenyan. Boom. Only to see Tu Teng stepping out as he blasted out with the heaven-splitting axe art. A beam of light descended from the skies, capable of splitting the heavens and earth apart. Boundless axe light slashed towards Qin Wenyan, wanting to cleave Qin Wenyan into 2. Qin Wenyan abruptly lifted his palms and blasted out. A moment later, a terrifying gigantic palm imprint blasted towards the heaven-splitting axe, directly destroying it. At the same time, Qin Wentian's silhouette was like the wind as he grabbed out with his palms. An incomparably gigantic palm imprint shone with boundless runic light as a deafening boom rang out, incomparably suppressive. Just a single strike had destroyed Tu Teng's confidence. His countenance turned ashen as boundless astral light from his constellation enveloped him. He spun in the air as the runic light slashed out once more. However, that gigantic palm imprint directly destroyed everything as it slammed towards him. Tu Teng roared in rage and blasted out with both his palms. However, the star-seizing palm imprint blasted towards him. With a thunderous boom, Tu Teng felt as though his entire body was about to explode. It was unknown how many bones in his body were broken. Qin Wentian's silhouette whistled through the air as he stabbed out with God's hand. This finger pierced through the air, directly piercing into Tu Teng's sturdy body. At this instant, boundless sword qi gushed forth from Tu Teng's body. A miserable scream rang out as Tu Teng's body slammed into the ground. Although he wasn't directly killed, his aura was extremely weak. It was as though all his internal organs had been destroyed. What a powerful ultimate art! Qin Wentian's cultivation base has already broken through to the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. No wonder he's so terrifying. Tu Teng is also a ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, yet he couldn't even withstand a single strike. The spectators felt their hearts trembling. This was too powerful. This attack by Qin Wentian had almost taken away half of Tu Teng's life. Evidently, Tu Teng was enraged when he saw Zi Qingxian in his hands. In this case, Tu Teng would need at least a year to recuperate in the city of ancient emperors. God's hand, a long-lost ultimate art. Back then when Qin Wentian fought against Xian Yang and the others, many people here didn't manage to witness it. Now that they personally witnessed how powerful God's hand was, it would be a lie if they said they didn't feel an urge to snatch it away. Who wouldn't want such an ultimate art? Hua Taishu was also slightly taken aback. He stared in bewilderment at Qin Wentian and Qin. The two of them came from particle worlds and now, they were already rising up in the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian's attacks had always been extremely powerful. And now, in addition to the rumored God's hand, he was even stronger. At this moment, Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto Xia Qianhan. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he icily spoke, "Release her. If you want her back, I'm afraid you have to follow me to the Twin Stars Alliance." Xia Qianhan held Zi Qingxian hostage as he stared at Qin Wentian. When he saw Qin Wentian's strength, he felt extremely unhappy in his heart. Back then when Qin Wentian first joined the Shao sect, he couldn't even be bothered with Qin Wentian. But now, with Qin Wentian's strength in addition to God's hand, he could already defeat him. "If you don't release her today, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave this place alive." Qin Wentian spoke. "Are you going to joke around with her life?" Xia Qianhan stared at Zi Qingxian. "If anything happens to her, you will have to pay with your life." Qin Wentian stepped out, as well as Qin. The two of them walked towards Xia Qianhan and the rest, and every step they took caused the hearts of Xia Qianhan and the rest to tighten. "Release her and I guarantee you all will leave. I've already revealed myself. If Xian Yang wants to find me, he can do so anytime. If the Twin Stars Alliance still dares to use such despicable methods, I, Qin, will definitely slaughter them all." Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Nobody doubted his words. Daring to kill the people of Xianxing in public, Qin Wentian had already proven his madness. Boom. Another step was taken. Qin Wentian and Qin walked side by side, giving Xia Qianhan an immense pressure. Should he release her or not? Do you really not care about her life or death? A sharp blade had already left a line of blood on Zi Qingxuan's neck. Is this how the geniuses of the Twin Stars Alliance act? Qin Wentian laughed. If I allow you to capture my teacher and bring her to the Twin Stars Alliance, who knows what would happen? I, Qin, will never agree to it. If you want to fight to the death, I'll exchange my life for yours. Xia Qianhan's entire body tensed up as her aura gushed forth frenziedly. Qin Wentian and Qin got closer, only to see a terrifying might radiating from Qin Wentian's hands. God's hand gleamed with a supreme spear light, while Qing irradiated a fearsome spatial energy. Qingxian, if you die, I will definitely make them accompany you in death. The wings behind Qin Wentian flickered, as though he was about to launch an attack of death. Zi Qingxian stared at Qin Wentian as she spoke, "Make your move." Xia Qianhan stared fixedly at Qin Wentian's God's hand, his heart pounding. "I will release her." Xia Qianhan's countenance turned ashen. Upon seeing Qin Wentian lifting his God's hand, he finally relented, "But you have to dissipate the energy of God's hand first." "I agree." Qin Wentian's voice rang out as he directly dissipated the energy of God's hand, returning it to normal. Upon seeing this scene, Xia Qianhan also released Zi Qingxian. He didn't dare to risk his life. Qin Wentian's identity had already been exposed. If he wanted revenge, Xian Yang would naturally come looking for him. Although he was unhappy with Qin Wentian, there was no need for him to risk his life. Chapter 928. Zi Qingxian broke free from Xia Qianhan's control and walked towards Qin Wentian. She didn't say anything, but when she stared at Qin Wentian, her gaze flickered with a strange light. "Are you all right?" Qin Wentian asked. "Just some minor injuries, nothing serious." Zi Qingxian shook her head. She glanced at Qing who was beside Qin Wentian before walking to Qin Wentian's side. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over to Xia Qianhan and the others, his eyes gleaming with sharpness as he coldly spoke, "Scram." Xia Qianhan's aura fluctuated as an intense light flickered in his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to fight it out with Qin Wentian. Although he didn't have much of a chance against Qin Wentian who had the God's hand, Qin Wentian had already dissipated the energy of God's hand. It was unknown if he still had the ability to condense God's hand a second time. At the very least, he could only condense it once before the Xian Emperor shattered it. But now, not only was Qin Wentian here, there was also Princess Qing. The number 5 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings wasn't someone he, Xia Qianhan, could win against. "Bring Tu Teng along, let's go." Xia Qianhan coldly spoke. After which, someone lifted Tu Teng's body as the people of the Twin Stars Alliance departed. They could only return to inform Xian Yang and Shaoling Yue before making any further plans. After all, only 2 people from Qin Wentian's group had the strength to contend against them. Xian Yang was ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings and could fight against Princess Qing. Shaoling Yue could fight against Qin Wentian who had the God's hand. There were still many other powerful geniuses from the Twin Stars Alliance. Since they had appeared, there was no need to be anxious. Unless Qin Wentian risked his life every time, he wouldn't have taken so long to appear again. Naturally, what was unexpected was that Qin Wentian's cultivation base actually broke through, stepping into the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. After the Twin Stars Alliance's members left, there were still quite a few geniuses gathered around to watch the show. Qin Wentian and Princess Qing seemed to be inseparable from each other the entire time. Just as everyone had guessed, they were a couple. "Senior brother Qin, fortunately you arrived in time," Jun Mingchen said. Qin Wentian shook his head and said, "If it weren't for me, Xian Yang wouldn't have caught you." "How can you be blamed for this? Since we came to the city of ancient emperors together, we naturally have to share weal and woe together. These Xian brothers are too much of a bully. Back then, you didn't do anything wrong in killing Xian Xing. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the same. Now that I'm being hunted by Xian Yang, I can only admit that I'm weaker than him. But when I grow stronger in the future, I will definitely make them regret this." Jun Mingchen felt extremely unhappy. His cultivation base at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon was still too weak when compared to the geniuses at the peak of the Twin Stars Alliance. After all, the experts in the Twin Stars Alliance were as common as clouds, and there were many rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings. For example, Tu Teng could easily defeat Zi Qingxian. "Oh right." At this moment, Jun Mingchen turned and stared at Hua Taishu. "I haven't thanked you yet. Back then in the Eastern Sage Immortal Palace, we could be considered opponents. I didn't expect you to help us." Qin Wentian glanced at Hua Taishu. He also didn't expect Hua Taishu to help them. Although the grudges between them could be considered resolved with a smile, it was still a favor for Hua Taishu to help them. Many thanks, Qin Wenyan also spoke. If I encountered such a situation, you would have helped me as well, right? Hua Taishu casually replied, causing Qin Wenyan to start. Given the complicated relationship between him and Hua Taishu, if Hua Taishu was surrounded, there was indeed a high possibility that he would have helped him. However, if it wasn't for Hua Taishu's question, he wouldn't have thought of this. Right now, we already have 5 people. Not only that, we also have senior sister-in-law, ranked number 5 in the Immortal Ascension rankings. Why don't we establish a sect as well and strengthen ourselves to contend against the Twin Stars Alliance? Jun Mingchen smiled as he glanced at Qin Wenyan and Hua Taishu. Senior sister-in-law? Qin Wenyan started. After which, he only saw Jun Mingchen rubbing his head in a simple and honest manner as he stared in the direction of Qin. Qin blinked, but her expression remained cold, as though she hadn't heard Jun Mingchen's words. Senior brother Qin, what do you think? Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue were able to establish the Twin Stars Alliance. You and senior sister-in-law's strength isn't any weaker compared to the two of them. If we establish our own power, we might be able to surpass the Twin Stars Alliance and let them continue to be arrogant, Jun Mingchen unhappily spoke. That's not a bad suggestion. I heard that there are many ancient ruins in the city of ancient emperors. If we have many experts working together, our chances of obtaining good fortune would be much higher compared to fighting alone. What made Qin Wenyan surprised was that Hua Taishu actually didn't have any objections and agreed with Jun Mingchen's suggestion. Qingxian, do you think so as well? Qin Wenyan asked Zi Qingxian. Don't worry about it. Even if we don't succeed, we still have 5 people. In the future, when we all break through to the next level, even if there's no one else joining us, we would still be able to become one of the strongest powers in the city of ancient emperors, Zi Qingxian replied. Right now, Princess Qin was at the 9th level of Celestial Phenomenon, Qin Wenyan, Zi Qingxian and Hua Taishu were at the 8th level, and Jun Mingchen was at the 7th level. They would be staying in the city of ancient emperors for a very long time, and there was even a possibility that they would attempt to break through to the immortal realm. At that time, the strength of the 5 of them would definitely be different. Qin, are you willing? Qin Wenyan turned his head and stared at Qin, seeking her opinion. You can decide. Qin calmly replied, her words causing Jun Mingchen to laugh. Since senior sister-in-law has already said so, senior brother Qin, there's no need to hesitate any longer. Okay then, the 5 of us shall establish a sect. But how should we name it? Qin Wenyan stared at them as he asked. Qingxian and I will listen to senior brother, and senior sister-in-law will definitely support senior brother Qin as well. Why don't we name it the Qin sect? It's simpler and there's no need for those fancy names. Senior brother Qin shall be the sect leader. Hua Taishu, what do you think? Jun Mingchen casually spoke. I have no objections. Hua Taishu calmly replied. It's decided then. Let's name it the Qin sect. Now, let's choose the location of the sect. How about the God Extermination Palace? A teasing expression appeared on Jun Mingchen's face. Back then when they first came to the city of ancient emperors, the God Extermination Palace wanted to bully them. Now, it was a good opportunity for them to take down the God Extermination Palace. There's no longer any meaning in dealing with the God Extermination Palace. Mingchen, now that the Twin Stars Alliance has merged with the Shao sect, have they decided on the location of their sect as well? Qin Wenyan asked. No, Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue are still guarding their respective locations. It's just that the Twin Stars Alliance will be the main force, and the Shao sect will have lesser people stationed there, Jun Mingchen replied. In that case, let's choose the Shao sect, Qin Wenyan spoke, his words causing Jun Mingchen's eyes to gleam with sharpness. Directly attack the Shao sect? Right. Jun Mingchen nodded. Let's head to the Shao sect now. The 5 of them left as soon as they spoke, directly heading towards the location of the Shao sect. The experts in the surroundings all gleamed with sharpness. Were these 5 crazy fellows? No matter how strong they were, directly attacking the Shao sect? Although the Shao sect didn't have many people stationed there were still tens of geniuses from the city of ancient emperors. Did the 5 of them really want to attack the Shao sect? Although Princess Qing was ranked number 5 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, she shouldn't be that powerful, right? Let's go and take a look. If they can really take down the Shao sect, I don't mind joining the Qin sect and fighting together with them against the Twin Stars Alliance. In addition to Qin Wendian, there are already 2 beauties in the Qin sect. They aren't in any way inferior to Xian Yang and Shaolin Yue. The experts all followed after them. The news soon circulated, and more experts headed towards the location of the Shao sect. Although the Shao sect had already merged with the Twin Stars Alliance, the Shao sect's location was still there. It had become a branch of the Twin Stars Alliance, and the old general of the Shao sect, Greedwolf, was in charge of it. At this moment, Greedwolf was sitting in a cultivation ground, cultivating. The rankings of the Immortal Ascension rankings in the City of Ancient Emperors changed frequently. Although his position was at the top, it wasn't very stable. He had to constantly raise his strength and step into the Immortal Foundation realm as soon as possible. The sound of wind drifted over. Greedwolf opened his eyes only to see a silhouette appearing in the air before him. That person spoke to Greedwolf. Greedwolf, Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian have already appeared. It's said that Ling Yu has already sent people to capture them. Should we go and take a look? There's no need to care about such a small matter. Ling Yu will naturally have her own methods to deal with this. There's no need for us to bother about it. Greedwolf faintly spoke. That person nodded, but at this moment, a raging wind gusted by from afar. That genius turned his gaze over as he furrowed his brows. Over there were 5 silhouettes that didn't seem to be from the Shao sect. At this moment, he saw Qin Wendian and his group. His countenance changed as he spoke. Greedwolf, they're here. Ling Yu? Greedwolf asked. It's Qin Wendian and his group. That genius mumbled. After that, Greedwolf's silhouette flickered as he soared up into the air. With a single glance, he saw the 5 approaching experts. He then roared, "Old friends have come to visit. Everyone, stop what you're doing." His voice rang out, echoing through the entire Shao sect. After that, numerous figures soared up into the air, and in the blink of an eye, the geniuses of the Shao sect all appeared as they stared ahead. When Qin Wendian and his group arrived outside the Shao sect, they halted their steps and stared at the geniuses from afar. Greedwolf stepped out and spoke in a clear voice. "Qin Wendian, do you want to return to the Shao sect?" "Qin, I'll be the main attacker. You protect me while I attack. Taishu, Mingchen, Qingxian, you guys clean up those we injured. Don't let them crawl back up." Qin Wendian immediately spoke. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out, and in an instant his body expanded to several meters in size. God's hand appeared once more as tyrannical runic light flashed, radiating boundless energy. Boom, boom, boom. The geniuses all released their constellations when they saw Qin Wendian, and his group didn't waste any words and immediately prepared to attack. For a moment, a terrifying aura shook the heavens and earth, engulfing this entire space. Left. Qin Wendian spoke. A powerful spatial energy enveloped the 5 of them. After which, a bright light flashed as they vanished from their original location, reappearing in front of 2 geniuses from the Shao sect. Hua Taishu stood in front as his eyes of samsara bloomed. Instantly, the 2 of them were immersed in a strange scene. Chapter 929. Qin Wentian's samsara eyes instantly caused the 2 of them to sink into an illusionscape. They instantly sensed the existence of the illusionscape, and their powerful wills guarded their hearts and minds, wanting to break free. However, they only saw Qin Wentian's God's hand directly appearing before one of them. The terrifying might contained within God's hand could only be described as terrifying. With a thunderous boom, one of the geniuses was directly flung through the air. The other person hurriedly retreated. The other geniuses all rushed over to aid him, only to see Qing Er standing there with a wave of her hand. A moment later, a spatial barrier appeared in front of her, as though wanting to isolate this entire space. "Break!" Greedwolf roared in rage. The geniuses all attacked at the same time, wanting to shatter the spatial barrier. But at this moment, a terrifying spatial light radiated from Qing Air. Her palms stretched out once more as the immortal slaying diagram appeared, rapidly expanding, transforming into an incomparably gigantic diagram that slashed outwards. The boundless attacks were all instantly destroyed by the immortal slaying diagram. No one was able to break through it. Qin Wentian's god's hand blasted towards another genius. That genius had no way to defend against the star-seizing grand palm imprint of God's hand. When the palm blasted out, his entire body felt as though it was being suppressed. With a thunderous boom, he was forcefully slammed into the ground, causing rumbling sounds to echo out. What a tyrannical attack! Even Tu Teng of the Immortal Ascension rankings couldn't withstand a single strike from God's hand. I'm afraid there aren't many geniuses who can withstand an attack from Qin Wenyan. From afar, those who followed Qin Wenyan here to spectate felt their hearts trembling when they saw two geniuses instantly losing their combat prowess. Qin Wenyan was the main force, while Princess Qing Air was using her spatial energy to restrain him. These two absolute experts were simply too terrifying when they joined forces. Hua Taishu took the initiative to step out. Terrifying illusionscape energy directly affected the geniuses of his opponents. His constellation was released to the extreme, and his samsara eyes were omnipresent. The geniuses all felt as though they had fallen into an illusionscape, and just as they struggled free from it, a new one would appear. Boom! Qin Wentian's body expanded once more, becoming a 100-meter-tall giant. Stepping out, God's hand slammed down as an incomparably huge violet-gold ancient bell descended from the sky. With a deafening boom, this ancient bell radiated boundless tribulation might that swept out in all directions, causing the hearts of the experts here to tremble as their wills became unstable. Bang! Yet another palm imprint slammed down. Another expert was sent flying, unable to resist at all. Qin Wenyan was like an ancient god of war, standing tall between the heavens and earth. Not only that, he could attack unrestrainedly. Every single attack that came his way would be instantly dissipated by Qing Er's overwhelming strength. In addition to Hua Taishu's illusory arts, he was able to sweep through everything in his path. At this moment, the geniuses of the Shao sect felt extremely weak and frail. They were the descendants of emperors, but at this moment, they were like ants that could be squashed by Hua Taishu. Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian were at the back, cleaning up the battlefield. For those who were injured by Qin Wenyan, they would immediately descend and continue to attack, directly causing their opponents to lose their combat prowess. Naturally, they would also seize all their interspatial rings, not holding back at all. In just a short period of time, over 10 experts were defeated, losing their combat prowess. This scene caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. Greedwolf's countenance turned ashen when he saw his comrades falling one after another. His eyes flickered with a destructive coldness as he inclined his head and stared at the sky. His terrifying constellation was unleashed to the extreme as an incomparably cold hell direwolf appeared in the air. Its entire body was covered in hellfire, and its eyes gleamed with a terrifying blood-red light. This hell direwolf's body grew larger and larger, to the point where it was even more terrifying compared to Qin Wenyan. Kill! Greedwolf howled. This hell direwolf spat out fearsome hellfire, wanting to incinerate everything as it lunged towards Qin Wenyan and his comrades. Qing Air's spatial energy was unleashed to the extreme as boundless runic light flowed around her, interweaving into a gigantic golden screen of light that blocked the hellfire. After which, the hellfire was swallowed into the void. Roar! A heaven-shaking howl of rage rang out. Greedwolf stood in the air, as though he had fused as one with his hell direwolf constellation. He punched out with both his fists as the heavenly direwolf howled in rage. Countless heavenly direwolves slammed into the golden screen of light, causing rumbling sounds to echo out, causing the golden screen to shatter unceasingly. Greedwolf was ranked number 12 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, and his combat prowess was naturally extremely strong. The other experts all supported Greedwolf when they saw him going berserk. They couldn't allow Qin Wendian and his comrades to gain the upper hand. Qing Air, there's no need to defend. Let's attack together. Qin Wendian spoke. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as his body expanded once again, growing to a height of 800 meters, resembling a supreme divinity. Qing Air retracted her defenses. Qin Wenyan blasted out a gigantic palm imprint, wanting to destroy everything. At the same time, Qing Air stepped out as a terrifying palm imprint blasted out towards Greedwolf. Qing Air's silhouette flickered as she directly vanished from sight, moving towards one of the geniuses. When that genius saw Qing Air walking over, he frenziedly attacked. However, a mysterious spatial energy enveloped Qing Air's body. She stepped out, directly passing through his attacks and punched out with a simple punch, tearing apart everything. With a boom, that genius felt as though his body was about to be torn apart as fresh blood gushed out. He had no way to defend against Qing Air's strength. Qin Wendian's god's hand blasted out towards Greedwolf in the air. As this palm blasted out, numerous great rocks appeared in the air, directly destroying the incoming heavenly wolves. I'm ranked number 12 in the Immortal Ascension rankings. With the Hell Heavenly Wolf protecting me, how can I lose to an 8th level ascendant? Greedwolf's countenance was ice cold. He stepped out as the Hell Heavenly Wolf howled in rage, wanting to devour the heavens and earth. Greedwolf punched out with his fist. The Hell Heavenly Wolf appeared within his fist light as it blasted towards Qin Wenyan. It was unknown how terrifying this attack power was. Qin Wendian's palms glowed with a blood-colored demonic light as he executed the 3-level battle art. God's hand blasted out with the heaven-suppressing star-seizing palm as a supreme suppressive might gushed forth, capable of suppressing all living beings. God's hand circulated with boundless runic light, containing the power of the great Tao as it directly collided with the Hell Heavenly Wolf. The entire sky trembled violently. Qin Wendian's palm had already undergone the refinement of the 10,000 Laws record and was incomparably tyrannical compared to the past. Now that it was augmented by the secret art of God's hand, its might was incomparably terrifying. Under the might of this single strike, even the sky seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The gigantic body of the Hell Heavenly Wolf actually began to crumble apart under the might of this attack. Boom! The terrifying suppressive might blasted into Greedwolf, causing him to groan in misery as he was flung through the air. Qin Wenyan grabbed out with his palms as the talons of a great rock appeared, directly grabbing hold of Greedwolf and smashing him into the ground. Rumble, a deep crater appeared as Greedwolf's body was forcefully smashed into the ground. At the same time when Qin Wendian defeated Greedwolf, Qing also dealt with 2 other geniuses. Although Qin Wendian told her to fight by herself, she still stood by Qin Wendian's side, blocking the attacks of the other geniuses for Qin Wendian. After all, Qin Wendian's body was too gigantic, it was very easy for him to be hit. After suppressing Greedwolf, Qin Wendian's body retreated several meters back. The wings of a great rock flashed as his silhouette flickered, directly vanishing as he flew towards a certain person. Retreat! That person roared. Regardless of Qin Wendian, they had no way to contend against him. The 2 of them had absolute superiority in terms of strength and could suppress any one of them. Such a battle wasn't something that could be turned around just by relying on numbers. Rumble! Numerous golden silhouettes bore down, directly suppressing this entire space. Qin Wendian's silhouette descended, and with a lift of his hands, he stabbed out with God's hand. A fearsome spear light swept through everything, destroying everything in its path. Although the spear light didn't directly penetrate into his opponent's body, the impact caused his bones to shatter and his internal organs to be heavily injured, causing him to lose all combat prowess. Go! The other geniuses all retreated in different directions. There was no longer a need for this battle to continue. Qin Wendian's attacks were extremely ruthless. Although he didn't use killing moves, those who were struck by him were all heavily injured. In addition to Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian cleaning up the battlefield, these geniuses all ended up in extremely miserable states. Qing turned her gaze to Qin Wenyan only to see Qin Wenyan speaking, "Let them leave." Complete victory. The spectators outside the Shao sect all felt their hearts trembling when they saw this battle. Before this, Qin Wenyan was ranked number 100 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. After this battle, he would most probably continue to climb up. If he borrowed the power of God's hand, he would already be able to defeat the number 12 ranker, Greedwolf. It was just that they didn't know if Qin Wenyan could use God's hand as he pleased. If he could, that would be a power that truly belonged to Qin Wenyan. His ranking might even be able to break through to the top 10. Although this Qin sect only has 5 members, their potential is extremely terrifying. With just Princess Qing and Qin Wenyan, they are already a force to be reckoned with. In addition to Hua Taishu and the other 2, their potential is also extremely high. If they break through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, their combat prowess would surely be terrifying as well. Right now, they can already use illusions to affect the geniuses here. Senior brother, how should we deal with these fellows? Jun Mingchen gathered all the heavily injured geniuses together. Qin Wenyan glanced at them and replied, "Throw them out." Jun Mingchen laughed. After that, he tossed those fellows out of the Shao sect one by one, causing the hearts of the geniuses outside to tremble. These fellows were truly ruthless. Not only did they heavily injure these geniuses, they even snatched away their interspatial rings. Those heavily injured geniuses all had cold expressions on their faces were completely pale. They couldn't even catch their breaths. Being tossed outside like animals, how humiliating was this? They had lost all faith in this battle. Chapter 930. Qin Wenyan's group of 5 seized control of the Shao sect and obtained many interspatial rings, as well as several tens of geniuses from the Shao sect. After the battle, Qin Wenyan went to the courtyard where he used to reside and to cultivate. He absorbed astral energy and continued to refine his divine energy. Defeating Greedwolf and the others wasn't even worth mentioning. Right now, the Twin Stars Alliance had the number 4 and number 6 rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Xian Yang and Shaoling Yue, in addition to several rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. They were the truly powerful ones. At the very least, with the strength of the 5 of them, it was impossible for them to contend against the Twin Stars Alliance. Although Jun Mingchen had injuries on his body, they weren't serious. While Qin Wenyan was cultivating, he changed the words Shao outside the Shao sect to Qin sect, causing the people outside to be speechless. Did these 5 people really intend to establish the Qin sect here? How could the Twin Stars Alliance let them off? Most probably, it wouldn't be long before the Twin Stars Alliance found out about this and rushed over. Hence, the people outside didn't leave. In fact, there were even more experts rushing over. They knew that a huge clash might occur here. Back then when Qin Wenyan killed Xian Xing, many people in the city of ancient emperors didn't have the chance to witness it. They also didn't have the chance to personally witness the might of God's hand. Now that they heard that Qin Wenyan appeared in the city of ancient emperors again, it would truly be a pity if they didn't show up to take a look. The area outside the Shao sect and the current Qin sect was extremely lively. Geniuses kept appearing, and there were even many rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Just at this moment, the gazes of many heaven's prides turned towards the figure of an incomparably cold and arrogant woman standing in the distance. That woman quietly stood there, yet it was as though she was the center of the entire world, stealing away everyone's light. It's Namhuang Yunxi. Interesting, this battle already involved the number 4, number 5 and number 6 rankers. Now, the number 3 ranker, Namhuang Yunxi, has also arrived. If Namhuang Yunxi is here, the 3 most beautiful geniuses in the city of ancient emperors would all be gathered here, the spectators mused. Back then when Qin Wenyan and the others entered the Emperor Palace, Nanfeng Yunxi had also entered and saw the monument left behind by the ancient emperor as well as the blood-colored runes. However, it was extremely difficult to comprehend those runes. It was like a heavenly book and eventually vanished from her mind. But after that, she heard that there was someone who succeeded in cultivating the god's hand. She couldn't help but to feel curious. The power she couldn't comprehend was actually comprehended by a 7th-level ascendant named Qin Wenyan. Now that she heard that Qin Wenyan had appeared in the city of ancient emperors, she decided to come over to take a look. She wanted to see how powerful the lost secret art of ancient Emperor Yi was. The appearance of the god's hand caused a storm to rise in the city of ancient emperors. 3 of the top 10 rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings fought against each other, and Qin Wenyan also rose up. And now, there's another piece of news circulating in the city of ancient emperors. Seems like this time around, there's going to be a storm of commotion. Among the crowd, a genius murmured. His words caused the gazes of many to turn to him as they asked, "What news are you referring to? Everyone, have you not heard of it?" That person glanced at the crowd as he asked, "Could it be that this news is comparable to the appearance of the god's hand?" Someone asked, his eyes gleaming. Many people have already received this news, and it's still spreading. I believe that this news will soon circulate throughout the entire city of ancient emperors. Let me tell you all about it. There's a rumor that the underworld mountains in the city of ancient emperors contains the inheritance of an ancient emperor. There's a high possibility that the inheritance of that ancient emperor is there, that person replied. Upon hearing their words, the crowd felt somewhat disappointed. One of them replied, "There have been people speculating about this since a long time ago. What's so strange about it? What do you know? This time around, it's different." That person snorted coldly as he retorted, "This time around, the news is concrete. Do you all know which ancient emperor it is?" "Which one?" The expressions of the crowd stiffened when they heard this. Many geniuses turned their gazes to the person who spoke. "The Brahma Heavenly Emperor." That person replied. As the sound of his voice faded, the gazes of everyone froze. It was as though they could hear their own heartbeats pounding unceasingly. "Is this true?" After a long time, someone asked, his voice trembling slightly. "The Brahma Heavenly Emperor?" It was actually the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. They naturally had heard of the name of this ancient emperor before. Some referred to him as the Immortal Emperor, some referred to him as the Devil Emperor, and there were also some who referred to him as the Demon Emperor. There were many legends regarding the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, and there were even rumors that his true form was that of a demonic beast. However, there were no records in the ancient records that could prove that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was the Demon Emperor. Although the Brahma Heavenly Emperor didn't unify the immortal realms, he had once killed several supremely powerful immortal emperors during his peak, seizing their strength. Not only that, he was even stronger than the previous immortal emperors, causing the entire immortal realms to tremble. After that, he was surrounded by the entire immortal realms and was hunted down frenziedly. Finally, they managed to obstruct the Brahma Heavenly Emperor at the unaging peak. In that battle, 8 peak-stage immortal emperors joined forces, wanting to kill the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. In that battle, all 8 immortal emperors died. Not a single one survived. From then on, the Brahma Heavenly Emperor vanished without a trace, as though he had never appeared in the immortal realms before. No one knew where he went, and even now, he was still a mystery. This immortal emperor that shook the past and present had vanished just like that, bringing along his ultimate art, the great Brahma art. No one knew what secrets this cultivation art contained. They only knew that after the Brahma Heavenly Emperor killed those immortal emperors, he used their ultimate arts and unleashed their power to an even greater extent, truly shocking the heavens and earth. Every expert cultivated a different elemental attribute, yet the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was able to cultivate their ultimate arts to such a terrifying degree. The cultivation art the Brahma Heavenly Emperor cultivated was mysterious and filled with creativity, as though it was an unprecedented cultivation art. But with the disappearance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, the divine art he cultivated, the great Brahma art, also disappeared. This ultimate art was lost. Right now, in the city of ancient emperors, there were people claiming that the underworld mountains were the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. How could the hearts of the geniuses not tremble? The underworld mountains contained the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? In that case, even if they knew it was a treacherous place, they still had to give it a try. Of course it's true. This news has already circulated and many people already know about it. Hence, there's no need for me to hide it. If I was the only one who received this news, I wouldn't have told you guys. That genius spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, a beautiful silhouette appeared before him, causing him to be stunned as he stared at the breathtaking countenance before him. Nam Huang Yunshi, that genius mumbled in a low voice. The person who appeared before him was none other than Nam Huang Yunshi. Where did this news originate from? Has it been verified that it's the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Nam Huang Yunshi asked. Evidently, there was no one who wouldn't be moved by the ruins of an ancient emperor. From ancient times until now, the immortal realms had experienced countless years. But in the long river of history, only a small number of ancient emperors could be remembered by the people. Each one of them could move the hearts of the people, let alone the Brahma Heavenly Emperor himself, who was already so mysterious and legendary. I have no idea where this news originated from, but in any case, it's gradually spreading. I feel that there are people intentionally spreading this news, but as for whether or not it's verified, I have no way of knowing. The underworld mountains is a treacherous place, and I've never been there before. Without actually seeing the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, who would dare to say that it's true? That person replied, causing Nam Huang Yunshi's beautiful eyes to flicker. Seems like the truth of this matter still needed to be verified. With a flash, Nam Huang Yunshi's silhouette returned to her original location, causing that genius to feel a sense of disappointment. He sniffed the air forcefully, as though he still couldn't bear to part with that faint fragrance. Being so close to the supreme beauty Nam Huang Yunshi was truly refreshing. The news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor swiftly circulated around. There were even some geniuses who wanted to form an alliance and head to the underworld mountains to investigate. Since there was such a rumor, they definitely couldn't miss it. After a period of time, from afar, a powerful aura gushed over. Many people turned their gazes over only to see a group of experts flying over in an imposing manner. Over 100 geniuses were present, and the two people in the lead exuded magnificence through the generations. These two were none other than the newest members of the Twin Stars Alliance, Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue. Glancing over, one could see that outside the Xiao sect, the word Xiao had been changed to Qin. On the ground, there were many geniuses lying on the ground. Some had fainted, while others were too heavily injured to move. Upon seeing this scene, Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue turned ashen as they commanded, "Bring them back to recuperate first." Behind them, several geniuses rushed forward, lifting Greedwolf and the others up and bringing them away. Their Twin Stars Alliance's disciples were heavily injured and lying on the ground with no one to care about them. This was simply a humiliation. "Scram out!" Xian Yang roared, his voice shaking the heavens and earth as he lunged towards the Xiao sect. Terrifying sound waves engulfed this entire space, and everyone could feel the baleful aura radiating from Xian Yang. Qin Wentian. Xiaoling Yue's beautiful countenance was extremely cold at this moment, exuding an icy killing intent. Back then in that battle, she almost died. It was only because the Xiao Emperor's immortal sense appeared and brought her away from the battlefield, saving her life. This already caused her to lose all faith in the city of ancient emperors. Now, Qin Wenin and a mere group of 5 actually dared to kill their way into the Xiao sect, injuring an old member of the Xiao sect and tossing them outside? This was a great humiliation. From within the Xiao sect, a figure soared up into the air. This was none other than Qin Wenin. Beside him, the silhouette of Qin could be seen, exuding an incomparably breathtaking beauty, akin to a flawless snow lotus. Many people surveyed Qin before turning their gazes onto Xiaoling Yue and Nam Huang Yunshi. Today, the 3 great beauties of the city of ancient emperors were all gathered here. This was truly a feast for the eyes. Every single one of them exuded a different kind of beauty. Nam Huang Yunshi was also surveying Qin Wentian and Qin. This Qin Wentian seemed somewhat familiar. Back then when she was heading to the Emperor Palace, she had seen him before. But back then, she didn't pay much attention to him. Who would have thought that he was the one who cultivated God's hand? At that time, he was still inconspicuous behind Xiao Lingyue. Who would have thought that he would cause such a commotion so quickly? Chapter 931. In the air beside Qin Wendian and Qing Hua Taishu, Zi Qingxian and Jun Mingchen appeared one after another. Jun Mingchen spoke, "What's wrong? These old members of the Xiao sect can't do it, but the Twin Stars Alliance is planning to use their entire sect to deal with the 5 of us? Qin Wendian, you guys are too impudent." Xiao Lingyue's countenance was as cold as ice. Before this, she wanted to obtain the god's hand from Qin Wendian and even resorted to using her beauty. But now, when she saw Qing standing beside Qin Wendian, she understood that from the start till the end, she was nothing but a joke in the eyes of Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian had never had any intentions towards her. He was originally a couple with the daughter of the Chongqing the Great, Qing. "You are allowed to deal with my junior apprentice brother and sister, but I'm not allowed to deal with the people of your Xiao sect?" Qin Wendian turned his gaze onto Xiao Lingyue, his countenance similarly cold. "In addition, the 5 of us fought against over 10 experts of your Xiao sect in an open and above-board manner. Isn't this the rule of the competition between geniuses in the city of ancient emperors? Xiao Lingyue, it seems that I've overestimated you by sending so many geniuses to deal with my junior apprentice brother and sister. So it turns out that you, the number 6 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, are so weak." "Shut up." A terrifying coldness gushed forth from Xiao Lingyue as she spoke. "Before this, all of you pitifully joined my Xiao sect. My Xiao sect protected all of you, but who would have thought that all of you would be such despicable people, making use of me? After obtaining the god's hand, you immediately revealed your despicable side. I, Xiao Lingyue, have truly been blind. Your words are truly shameless." Zi Qingxian couldn't bear to continue listening to this. This Xiao Lingyue wasn't willing to accept the painful lesson from before and was still consoling herself now. "There's no need to argue about right and wrong, it's meaningless." Qin Wendian stepped out as he spoke. "Xiao Lingyue, we have yet to form a death grudge. If you still have some backbone, why don't you fight me one-on-one? Do you think we need to fight you alone?" Xian Yang's killing intent was extremely heavy. Because of Xian Xing's death, he and Qin Wendian had become mortal enemies. He would never let Qin Wendian off. If there was a chance, he would definitely kill him. "You want the entire Twin Stars Alliance to attack together?" Sweeping a glance at Xian Yang, Qin Wendian sneered, "What a joke. Do you think I'll play with you in such a battle? If I want to leave, Qinger has a spatial immortal treasure on her. Who would be able to stop us? I will wait for you two at the Xiao sect. Xian Yang, you and Xiao Lingyue are both rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings. If you can still be considered a man, why don't the 2 of you fight against us?" The hearts of everyone trembled when they heard Qin Wentian's words. When they thought of Qinger's identity and the strength she was proficient in, they couldn't help but to think that Qin Wendian and the others were already prepared. Indeed, if the Twin Stars Alliance wanted to join forces against the 5 of them, there was no need for Qin Wendian to face them. He might as well leave. The entire Twin Stars Alliance had over 100 geniuses, and there were even quite a few rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings. How could Qin Wentian's group of 5 fight against them? The reason why Qin Wendian was waiting here was because he wanted to settle things with Xian Yang and Xiao Lingyue. He would join forces with Qinger to fight against Xiao Lingyue and Xian Yang. 2 against 2, it would be a fair battle. The gazes of the various geniuses all landed on Xian Yang. If he didn't agree and chose to gang up on them, it would be meaningless for Qin Wendian to leave immediately. Xian Yang would surely be criticized by others. After all, he and Xiao Lingyue were ranked number 4 and number 6 respectively, while Qinger was only ranked number 5, lower than him. As for Qin Wendian, he was currently only ranked number 100 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even if it was 2 against 2, it seemed that he and Xiao Lingyue still held an absolute advantage. There was no need for them to cower. Qin Wendian seemed to have made a request that Xian Yang couldn't reject. He wanted to take revenge for Xian Xing, so he had to rely on his own strength to kill Qin Wendian. He didn't even need to borrow an immortal ranked weapon. If he used an immortal ranked weapon like before and Qin Wenyan risked his life, the ending would be one where both sides suffered heavy losses. Qing'e would also be able to bring him away, only to see Xian Yang turning his gaze onto Xiaolingyue. In the previous battle, Xiaolingyue fought against Qing'e and the ending was her defeat. This time around, her side had Xian Yang who was ranked even higher than Qing'e. As for her opponent, it was Qin Wenyan who had only broken through to the next level. Indeed, from the surface, the possibility of them winning was extremely high. Even though Qin Wenyan had stepped into the 8th level of celestial phenomenon, he was still much weaker compared to them. The only advantage Qin Wenyan had was the secret art of ancient Emperor Yi, the god's hand. Xiaolingyue nodded to Xian Yang. After which, the gazes of the two of them turned over, staring at Qin Wenyan and Qing'e. They stepped out, walking towards the battlefield, preparing to fight the battle that belonged to them. Qin Wenyan saw this scene. He and Qing'e also walked forward. The four great geniuses stood in the air, exuding an unexcelled might. Any one of them was a supreme genius with outstanding talent. I will deal with Qing'e, you help me kill Qin Wenyan. Don't show mercy, Xian Yang transmitted his voice to Xiaolingyue. Xian Yang transmitted his voice to Xiaolingyue. As the number 4 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, he was above Qing'e. Back then, Xiaolingyue was defeated by Qing'e. Hence, for this battle he chose to deal with Qing'e while Xiaolingyue faced Qin Wenyan. Understood. Xiaolingyue replied. From the positions of the four of them, the spectators already understood what Xian Yang and Xiaolingyue were thinking. Using the strong against the weak, Xian Yang who was ranked higher would fight against Qing'e, while Xiaolingyue should be able to defeat Qin Wenyan. In that case, both of them would have an advantage, and the ending of the battle was obvious. The four of them respectively released their tyrannical auras as well as their strongest constellations. Upon seeing Xian Yang's constellation, that ancient mirror constellation made everyone feel that Xian Yang was already in an undefeatable position. His heavenly mystic mirror art was able to reflect attacks. There was no way he could win. All the geniuses in the surroundings were seriously watching this battle, including Nam Huang Yunxi. The three behind her were all present, and it was a chaotic battle. Such a battle wasn't something that could be seen frequently, and it was extremely rare to see. Princess Qing'e's constellation seems to be extremely powerful as well. That spatial constellation diagram seems to contain all sorts of spatial might within it. The powerful spatial might enveloped Princess Qing'e within, making her seem sacred and inviolable. God's hand has appeared. At this moment, the spectators once again saw God's hand. Qin Wenyan's palms shimmered with a resplendent light, and very swiftly, his palms started to transforming into an incomparably majestic God's hand, resembling the palm of a true divinity. Behind Qin Wenyan, a pair of wind rock wings appeared. His gigantic body shimmered with fiend god light, and a terrifying bloodline power circulated within him. Rumble! Xiaolingyue acted. Her palms blasted out, and an instant later, a surge of freezing energy gushed forth. A huge stretch of space in the sky was instantly frozen, as though she wanted to freeze both Qin Wenyan and Qing'e. Qing'e blasted out a golden fist light, lacerating everything, directly shattering the freezing energy. A terrifying long spear appeared in Qin Wenyan's god's hand. When this long spear pierced out, a formless energy akin to an unknown tempest manifested, directly destroying everything. Xian Yang also acted. Xian Yang acted. He brandished his long spear and directly pierced towards Qing'e with a speed as fast as lightning. The astral light from his constellation frenziedly gushed forth, forcing Qing'e to fight against him. Xiaolingyue also acted against Qin Wenyan. Stepping out, her frozen extermination calamity finger directly stabbed towards Qin Wenyan. Instantly, Qin Wenyan felt his entire body turning cold as a surge of freezing energy penetrated through him. Qing'e's slender jade-like fingers blasted towards Xian Yang's long spear. Numerous golden swords slashed out, destroying everything in front of them. Qin Wenyan's long spear continued piercing out, using the power of God's hand to unleash a terrifying might. The freezing energy in front of Xiao Lingyue rapidly shattered apart. Xiao Lingyue could clearly feel a supreme pressure gushing towards her. God's hand. Nam Huang Yunxi's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wentian's attack. The power of God's hand was simply too terrifying. In addition to Qin Wentian's own spear arts, his attack had truly reached the level of a peak stage 9th level ascendant. In the future, if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon and used God's hand to attack, his power would be even more terrifying. Xiao Lingyue's finger stabbed out. Instantly, a surge of freezing energy directly froze the long spear, wanting to freeze Qin Wentian's God's hand as well. A startling energy directly enveloped Qin Wentian's body. In just a short instant, half of Qin Wentian's body was enveloped by the freezing energy, about to be frozen to death. Xiao Lingyue has comprehended the law energy of freezing. Although it's only at the embryonic form, it's already sufficient to kill celestial phenomenon ascendants. Nam Huang Yunxi silently mused when she saw this scene. If Qin Wentian's attacks only reached a certain level, he would be able to fight evenly against Xiao Lingyue. However, he had no way to defend against the corrosive power of Xiao Lingyue's law energy. Xiao Lingyue's beautiful eyes flickered with coldness. It was as though her gaze wanted to penetrate through Qin Wenin. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's entire body trembled as a supreme energy gushed forth from him. The layer of frost around him instantly shattered apart as God's hand continued its attack, bringing with it boundless killing intent, wanting to destroy Xiao Lingyue with a single strike. How can this be? He has comprehended it as well? Xiao Lingyue's beautiful eyes flashed with bewilderment and shock. She knew how difficult it was to comprehend such an energy. If one didn't reach the pinnacle of celestial phenomenon, it would be extremely hard to come into contact with such an energy. If one couldn't even sense it, how could one comprehend it? However, earlier, a powerful aura erupted forth from Qin Wenin. If it wasn't that energy, what could it be? Qin Wentian's cultivation base was only at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. He shouldn't have come into contact with such an energy. That energy didn't belong to Qin Wenin. Let's try again. Xiao Lingyue's beautiful eyes flashed with coldness. Upon seeing the long spear shooting towards her, her body instantly froze, transforming into an ice sculpture. Traces of law energy circulated around the ice sculpture, extremely terrifying to the extreme. Pooh! The resplendent long spear stabbed out, directly penetrating through the ice sculpture. The expression in Xiao Lingyue's beautiful eyes changed. This attempt had already confirmed her conjecture. Qin Wenin had indeed comprehended that energy as well. Chapter 932. Xiao Lingyue was forced back. The wings on Qin Wentian's back flickered as he instantly closed in with a speed akin to golden lightning. Kill! Qin Wenin stabbed out with his spear, yet at this moment, a white light flashed as an ancient mirror manifested. Qin Wentian's spear directly slammed into it, shattering the ancient mirror. However, the rebound force from the impact caused Qin Wentian's palms to tremble slightly, dissipating the force of his spear. Xian Yang, who was fighting at the side, was the one who had unleashed this attack. How could Xiao Lingyue miss this opportunity? At the instant Qin Wentian's spear force dissipated, she let out a shrill cry. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as frost covered her entire body. Xiao Lingyue punched out with both her fists, causing the ice statues in the air to explode. If ordinary geniuses were to receive such a terrifying attack, their bodies would surely disintegrate. In a battle between experts of their level, victory or defeat could be decided in a single thought. Qin Wentian's attack was blocked by Xian Yang, allowing Xiao Lingyue to seize this opportunity to attack. Qin Wentian's body was instantly frozen. His internal organs were all frozen to death. When Xiao Lingyue's fist punched out, he could faintly sense that his body was about to shatter into countless particles. It was extremely terrifying. The runic light circulating around Qin Wentian's body intensified to the extreme as an inextinguishable might bore down on Xiao Lingyue. The constellation in the sky shone with a dazzling light as his god's hand moved again. When Xiao Lingyue was about to close in on him, He stabbed out with his spear. This spear strike was capable of suppressing all existences. Everywhere it passed by, the ice and frost were all shattered as the two forces clashed madly in the air. Go! The long spear in Qin Wentian's hand expanded explosively, wanting to destroy everything in its path. The long spear flew out of his hands. Xiao Lingyue screamed in a frenzy. This suppressive might had her as the center, causing the space around her to freeze. If there was someone beside her, they would instantly be frozen to death. But right at this moment, a person was enveloped by spatial energy and directly penetrated through, instantly descending from the heavens. His destructive fist light lacerated everything, causing the countenance of Xiao Lingyue, who was defending against Qin Wentian's attack, to drastically change. Bzz. When Xianyang saw this, he immediately turned and chased after Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian similarly turning and blasting out a star-seizing palm imprint towards Xianyang. This palm imprint contained the power to annihilate everything, destroying everything in its path. Xianyang roared. Numerous incomparably mystical ancient mirrors appeared in the air as his heavenly mystic mirror art was unleashed to the extreme. Qin Wentian's attack directly slammed into the heavenly mystic mirror art, but the terrifying rebound force caused Qin Wentian's palms to tremble. However, Xianyang's long spear exploded forth from behind the ancient mirror. Powerful, no wonder Xianyang can be ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. His heavenly mystic mirror art is too difficult to break. Although Xianyang's attacks aren't that powerful, with the miraculous properties of the heavenly mystic mirror art, his opponent's attacks would be the same as him attacking himself. Unless his opponent's attacks were many times stronger than him, only then would they be able to shatter his heavenly mystic mirror art. Clearly, the current Qin Wentian has yet to reach this level. It would be extremely difficult to defeat Xianyang. However, this battle wasn't a one-on-one battle. It was a two-on-two battle. Qin Wentian understood that Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art was extremely powerful, and it would be extremely difficult for him to break through it. Qin Wentian's entire person was akin to a true wind rock as he retreated. The Void Atlas appeared, revolving frenziedly as Qin replaced Qin Wentian's position. Xianyang's long spear directly pierced into the Void Atlas, as though it was being sucked into it. The exchange between Qin Wentian and Qin was perfect. Qin blocked Xianyang's attack, while Qin Wentian was like a gust of wind as he blasted out a palm strike towards Xiao Lingyue. Xiao Lingyue initially wanted to circle around Qin Wentian to join up with Qin and Xianyang, but she was directly interrupted by the palm strike. It was as though she and Xianyang were completely separated by Qin and Qin Wentian. Princess Qin and Qin Wentian aren't at a disadvantage against Xianyang and Xiao Lingyue at all. If they were to win this battle, the Twin Stars Alliance would truly lose all face, the spectators mused. Right now, the Twin Stars Alliance had formed an alliance with the Xiao sect in the past. The Twin Stars Alliance was Xianyang and Xiao Lingyue. If they were to lose this battle, the Twin Stars Alliance, which was considered the #1 sect in the City of Ancient Emperors, would truly lose all face. The spectators could see that the attacks of the four were all extremely ferocious. Qin Wentian and Xiao Lingyue exchanged attacks, but Princess Qin was more focused on neutralizing Xianyang's attacks. Because Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art was extremely hard to break, she had no way to break through it in a short period of time. Hence, she chose to defend, alternating between Qin Wentian and suddenly appearing before Xiao Lingyue, catching her off guard. Princess Qin unleashed the advantage of her spatial energy to the extreme, while Qin Wentian's speed was also faster than Xiao Lingyue's. As the battle continued, Xiao Lingyue's situation grew increasingly unfavorable. Qin Wentian, you are truly despicable. As a man, you actually have to rely on a woman to aid you in battle. Xiao Lingyue coldly spoke. She had already unleashed all her techniques, yet she had no way to break through God's hand and defeat Qin Wentian. She was already feeling a trace of impatience and was intentionally provoking Qin Wentian with her words, wanting to provoke Qin Wentian's temper. However, Xiaoling Yue only saw Qin Wendian smiling coldly at her. That smile seemed to be mocking her. At the same time Qin Wendian attacked, he spoke, "Xiaoling Yue, how laughable. Despite being ranked number 6 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, your strength is only at this level. We can end this battle now. I'll show you the true might of God's hand." As the sound of Qin Wendian's voice faded, the spectators only saw his palm radiating boundless light, incomparably resplendent. Countless runic inscriptions flowed frenziedly, and it was unknown how terrifying that palm was. It was as though the power contained within was about to explode forth in an instant. Xiaoling Yue's eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wendian's palm. She could see the runic inscriptions flowing frenziedly, transforming into a terrifying vortex that frenziedly devoured the boundless energy. That palm merely hung there, yet a terrifying destructive tempest manifested. The might contained within caused Xiaoling Yue's heart to pound wildly. In the previous battle, your God's hand was shattered. Once you unleash it, you won't be able to use it a second time. You've overdrafted the energy of your God's hand. Xiaoling Yue stared at Qin Wendian. Your guess is correct. God's hand is able to maintain a powerful combat state for a long period of time. After the battle ends, I can retract it. Naturally, God's hand has another unique characteristic: it can truly unleash the might of a divinity. It's a true combat God's hand. Qin Wendian spoke. After which, his silhouette flickered as he lifted his palm and blasted it towards Xiaoling Yue. At this instant, an incomparably gigantic palm imprint descended from the heavens, bringing with it an unexcelled might that could suppress and destroy everything. This kind of pressure caused Xiaoling Yue to feel a sense of helplessness. She let out a heaven-shaking roar as boundless frost energy gushed forth from her body, transforming into numerous icy mountains that blasted towards the gigantic palm imprint. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as everything was about to be shattered. Not only that, it was so fast that it was like a beam of light, capable of destroying everything. Boom! A deafening sound rang out. The space where Xiaoling Yue was standing was filled with a terrifying impact. After which, the spectators only saw a gigantic crater appearing on the ground, as though a human silhouette had been smashed into it. The spectators were all dumbfounded as they stared at the crater. Even the battle between Qing and Xian Yang halted as they stared in that direction. The ground there was completely frozen, resembling a crater of ice and snow. An instant later, a coughing sound rang out as a figure crawled out from the crater with great difficulty. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly from his mouth. Xiaoling Yue inclined her head and stared at Qin Wendian, who was in the air. Her eyes were filled with a sense of despair. After losing to Qing who was ranked one of the top rankers, today, she was defeated by Qin Wendian in a domineering manner. Qin Wendian was someone she had once lured into the Shao sect. Initially, she wanted to make use of him to find a way to enter the Emperor Palace, and she did find it. However, because of this, Qin Wendian managed to cultivate God's hand while she gained nothing. Half a year later, Qin Wendian defeated her. How ironic was this? Xiaoling Yue was defeated by Qin Wendian. The countenances of the crowd turned cold. Qin Wendian, who had obtained God's hand, was destined to rise domineeringly in the city of ancient emperors. The glow of God's hand in his palm dimmed. Although it was still there, it no longer had the dazzling luster from before. Xian Yang's countenance was ice cold. His silhouette flickered as he directly dashed towards Qin Wendian. Without God's hand, how could Qin Wendian defend against his attacks? Even if he was the only one left, this battle wasn't over yet. However, Qing's silhouette flickered as she appeared before Xian Yang. Her spatial manipulation was extremely powerful and could easily block Xian Yang's path. Although she had no way to break Xian Yang's heavenly mystic mirror art, Xian Yang had no way to defeat her as well. As the spectators watched their battle, they felt that there wasn't much of a difference between the 4th and 5th rankers. Xian Yang relied on the heavenly mystic mirror art and was in an invincible position. But even his attacks had no way to deal with Qing. With regards to this point, Qin Wendian already knew it before the battle started. After all, he had fought against Xian Yang before and knew of his strengths and weaknesses. He slowly walked forwards, only to see several experts from the Twin Stars Alliance heading their way. For a moment, their auras surged violently. But you can't afford to lose? Qin Wenyan swept his gaze over the crowd as he coldly spoke. His words caused them to halt their steps as they stared at Qin Wenyan with cold eyes. There were even quite a few who flew down to take care of Xiaoling Yue. What happened? At this moment, a voice drifted down from the heavens. After which, a silhouette soared through the air. This person exuded an indescribable aura, and although his aura wasn't tyrannical or sharp, just by standing in the air, it was as though he was a supreme character that had descended from the heavens. His voice was as light as the wind, yet it contained an unparalleled might. Chapter 933. Everyone inclined their heads, staring at the young man in the air as their expressions froze. It's him, he actually came. In an instant, everyone inclined their heads and stared at the young man descending from the sky. This caused a strange expression to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Most probably, this young man was an Empyrean. Even Nam Huang Yunshi hadn't received such treatment before. Qin Wenyan could easily guess that there were only two geniuses in the city of ancient emperors who could attract more attention compared to the beauties Nam Huang Yunshi and Qingya. After all, Nam Huang Yunshi's ranking was already terrifyingly high. And in terms of demeanor, although this young man appeared carefree, one could faintly sense the disdain he exuded. It was obvious who this young man was. A descendant of Zi Daoyang. Qin Wenyan silently mused. Zi Daoyang was ranked number 1 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, the number 1 genius in the entire city of ancient emperors. In that case, even in the entire immortal realms, he could be considered one of the top few at the peak of celestial phenomenon. Ling Yue, are you all right? Zi Daoyang glanced at the injured Xiaoling Yue on the ground before turning his gaze back to Qin Wenyan. Daoyang Gij. Although Xiaoling Yue was injured, she still called out in a gentle voice. That melodious voice of hers was able to cause the hearts of those who heard it to tremble. This caused countless people to be speechless in their hearts. This was the disparity between them. Although they were both geniuses, the disparity between them was still too great. Xiaoling Yue had countless pursuers, but none of them had shown any interest in her. And now that Zi Daoyang appeared, Xiaoling Yue actually addressed him so intimately, calling him Daoyang Gij in a gentle voice. Those pursuers couldn't help but feel disheartened. Such treatment caused their hearts to turn cold. But when they inclined their heads and stared at Zi Daoyang, they could only sigh in their hearts. No wonder Xiaoling Yue was like this. This man was Zi Daoyang. Even if she was a supreme beauty, if her status wasn't high enough, she wouldn't even be qualified to be his friend. Are you all right? Zi Daoyang asked. Xiaoling Yue shook her head lightly. Wasn't Daoyang Gij in closed-door seclusion? How come you have the time to come out now? I heard news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor in the Underworld Mountains, so I came out to take a look. Zi Daoyang spoke. After that, he turned his gaze onto Nanfeng Yunshi as he smiled. Princess Yunshi, a descendant of the Southern Phoenix clan, a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch. You truly live up to your reputation. Do you also believe in the rumors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Nanfeng Yunshi asked Zi Daoyang. I do, because I know of someone who has already entered the Underworld Mountains and has already been there for a very long period of time. I believe that he wouldn't die there. Zi Daoyang smiled and nodded, his words causing a strange expression to appear on Nanfeng Yunshi's face. Are you referring to him? Hearing their conversation, the hearts of the crowd trembled, instantly guessing who they were referring to. Zi Daoyang was the number 1 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, and Nam Huang Yunshi was the number 3 ranker. The person they were referring to could only be that extremely ruthless character. Who would have thought that the reason he disappeared for so long was because he had gone to the Underworld Mountains? How ruthless! Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense to defeat me, seizing my number 1 ranking, and even entered the Underworld Mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now, there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be in the Underworld Mountains. If he really obtained it, Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person he felt a trace of trepidation towards was that person. Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense, wanting to defeat me and seize the top rank on the Immortal Ascension rankings. He even entered the underworld mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now, there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be within the underworld mountains. If he really obtained it? Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person who could cause him to feel a trace of trepidation was none other than that person. Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense to defeat me, seizing my #1 ranking, and even entered the underworld mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now, there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be in the underworld mountains. If he really obtained it? Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person he felt a trace of trepidation towards was that person. As he thought of this, Qin Wenyan couldn't help but feel worried. Little rascal could sense the summoning energy. It should be because he had his own good fortune that Qin Wenyan allowed him to stay in the underworld mountains. However, Qin Wenyan was still worried about little rascal's safety. At this moment, Zi Daoyang's eyes turned to Qin, who was standing behind Qin Wenyan. He smiled and called out, "Little sister Qin." As the sound of his voice faded, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of many. Xiao Lingyue referred to him as Daoyang Gij, but Zi Daoyang simply referred to her as Lingyue. He referred to Namhuang Yunxi as Princess Yunxi, and to Princess Qin, he referred to her as Little Sister Qin. These 3 different forms of address. He referred to Lingyue as someone he was familiar with, to Namhuang Yunxi was courteous, and to Princess Qin, he referred to her as Little Sister Qin. The moment he arrived, he immediately interacted with the 3 supreme beauties of the city of ancient emperors. Such confidence wasn't something others could possess. After all, these 3 supreme beauties were all ranked within the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. However, the spectators only saw an expression of unhappiness on Princess Qing's face as she coldly glanced at Zi Daoyang. Uncle Evergreen often visits my clan as a guest and is as close as a brother to my father. He treats my father like an elder brother, and I've long heard of you from him, but I've never had the chance to meet you in person. Today in the city of ancient emperors, I was able to recognize you with a single glance. My age is slightly older than you, and in addition to the fact that we're of the same generation, it's not too much for me to refer to you as little sister. Sister Qing, please don't take offense. This is also a request my uncle made to me back then. Zi Daoyang smiled. If it was someone else who referred to Princess Qing in this manner, the crowd might feel that they were intentionally trying to get close to her, or perhaps taking advantage of her. However, when Zi Daoyang spoke in this manner, the crowd felt that it was extremely normal. As for how complicated the relationships between immortal emperors were, these juniors weren't very clear. However, Zidi was one of the strongest immortal emperors in the immortal realms, and he even had several immortal emperors following him. It wasn't strange for the Chongqing the Great to refer to him as elder brother. Just call me by my name, Qin Wenyan spoke in a cold voice. Qing icily replied. Zi Daoyang glanced at her before he smiled and nodded, that's fine as well. In the future, if you're out of the city of ancient emperors, Qing, if you're free, come over to my place for a visit. Qin didn't reply. Zi Daoyang then turned his gaze to Qin Wenyan and Xian Yang. He first spoke to Xian Yang, "We're all acquaintances, there's no need to fight like this. Xian Yang, give me some face and bring Leng Yu and the people of your Twin Stars Alliance away." Xian Yang's countenance froze, and his expression turned extremely unsightly. Zi Daoyang seemed to be intentionally revealing that his relationship with Qing wasn't shallow. If that was the case, wouldn't he, Xian Yang, give up on avenging Xian Xing? What's wrong? Zi Daoyang couldn't help but furrow his brows when he saw Xian Yang's heavy expression. Since you've spoken, I can give up on this battle. However, Qin Wenyan injured an old general of the Shao sect, as well as Ling Yu. Are we just going to let this matter rest? Xian Yang inclined his head and stared at Zidao Yang. Although Xian Yang was ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings in the City of Ancient Emperors, and there weren't many who could suppress him, he still had to give face to Zidao Yang. Regardless of strength or background, there was a great disparity between him and Zidao Yang. Although there were many descendants of immortal emperors in the City of Ancient Emperors, there were still differences in strength between immortal emperors and immortal emperors. Zidao Yang's father, Zidi, was a supremely powerful immortal emperor, and even had immortal emperors under him. Compared to Xian Yang's father, the Xian Emperor, Zidao Yang was much stronger. Similarly, this was also the reason why the Shao Emperor didn't dare to humiliate Qing back then when his immortal sense appeared. Qing had the Chongqing the Great and GD behind her, and both of them were stronger than the Shao Emperor. In a battle between juniors, regardless of who won or lost, the elders shouldn't interfere. If he, the Shao Emperor, interfered and humiliated Qing, once the evergreen immortal emperor and GD learned of this, they would surely view him as an eyesore. When Zidao Yang heard Xian Yang's words, he turned his gaze onto Qin Wendian as he spoke. Xian Yang's words aren't without reason. You heavily injured Ling Yue. I'll ask Xian Yang to stop the battle, and you apologize to Ling Yue. How about it? Qin Wendian stared at the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zidao Yang. At this moment he still didn't understand why Zidao Yang would appear here. He was like a peacemaker, wanting everyone to give him face. Was it because he wanted to show off? Given Zidao Yang's status, there was no need for him to do this. Qin Wendian's countenance was cold. He didn't like Zidao Yang at all. That time when Zidao Yang referred to Qin as his younger sister, although Zidao Yang had said it openly, it still made Qin Wendian unhappy. In addition, what qualifications did he have to ask Xian Yang to stop the battle and apologize? Xian Yang and him, Qin Wendian, were enemies. Qin Wendian defeated Xiao Lingyue because Zidao Yang came to cause trouble. Bluntly speaking, Zidao Yang was merely using his strength to suppress Qin Wendian. If it was someone else, would Xian Yang compromise? Why should I apologize? Qin Wendian inclined his head and stared at Zidao Yang. The eyes of everyone narrowed. The person before Qin Wendian was none other than Zidao Yang, the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even Xian Yang had to compromise before Zidao Yang. Why was Qin Wendian asking why? Everyone understood that Zidao Yang was relying on his tyrannical strength. You're asking me why? Zidao Yang laughed. Although you obtained the ultimate art of an ancient emperor, the God's Hand, and relied on it to defeat Ling Yue, even if you're at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, you're still not strong enough to stand before me. Hee hee. Qin Wendian laughed. Didn't I say that in a battle in the City of Ancient Emperors, there's no need for the victor to apologize? If you want to use your strength to suppress me, just say it directly. Why do you have to beat around the bush? Bluntly speaking, everyone here had to look up to Zidao Yang. The reason why he interacted with the 3 supreme beauties the moment he arrived was undoubtedly because of his strength and status. I've already broken through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, so there's no meaning to it. But if you want me to lower my face and apologize just because of a single sentence from you, aren't you overestimating yourself a little too much? Qin Wendian faintly spoke. Zidao Yang wasn't angered when he heard Qin Wendian's words. He calmly stared at him, but his eyes gradually turned sharp. At this moment, Qing walked to the side of Qin Wendian and stared at Zidao Yang together with him. Qing, is he your good friend? Zidao Yang stared at Qing as he asked. Qing's countenance was cold. She stared at Zidao Yang and didn't reply. Zidao Yang didn't seem to mind as he smiled. Since this is the case, I won't make things difficult for him. After speaking, his countenance softened as he turned to Xian Yang. Xian Yang, this matter ends here. Uncle Evergreen once instructed me to take care of Qin. You've also heard my words earlier. In the future, you're not to cause trouble here again. Chapter 934. Xian Yang's countenance grew increasingly unsightly as he stared at Zidao Yang in the air. Zidao Yang's tone was relaxed, as though he was speaking of an insignificant matter. But could it be that he didn't know what this meant to him, Xianyang? Xian Xing was killed by Qin Wendian in public, and the Twin Stars Alliance was humiliated. This was a grudge of life and death, yet Zi Daoyang was telling him not to cause trouble in the future with a single sentence? Zi Daoyang didn't care about Xianyang's feelings at all. His casual words contained absolute arrogance. Even though he was ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang didn't place him in his eyes at all. Hatred. In Xianyang's heart, hatred for Zi Daoyang had already blossomed. If there was a chance, he would definitely wash away this humiliation. Zi Daoyang naturally understood that his actions would cause Xianyang to hate him. But he didn't care, he didn't even consider it. He, Zi Daoyang, was a descendant of Zidi. Zidi had once said that the Xian Emperor's people could rely on the heavenly mystic mirror art to increase their defense, but it would be hard for them to achieve great things. They would never be able to be compared to those famous great emperors. As the son of the Xian Emperor, Xianyang could rely on his heavenly mystic mirror art to be undefeatable against those with stronger attacks than him. But Zi Daoyang didn't care about him at all. Naturally, only an existence like Zidi would dare to say such things about the Xian Emperor. Only a genius like Zi Daoyang wouldn't care about Xianyang. If it was someone ranked at the bottom of the Immortal Ascension rankings, they could only look up to Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art. Their perspectives were different, and the scenery they saw was naturally different as well. The spectators could feel the humiliation in Xianyang's heart when they saw his silence. Xianyang smiled and spoke, "Fine. Since Zi Daoyang has said this, I, Xianyang, naturally won't cause trouble. I've long heard that Senior Zidi has a good relationship with the Evergreen Immortal Emperor, but I didn't expect them to be like brothers. I believe that in the future, Brother Zi and Princess Qing will also have a chance to become a peerless couple." After speaking, Xianyang stepped out, moving in the direction of the Twin Stars Alliance. Upon hearing Xianyang's last sentence, strange looks appeared in the eyes of the spectators. It seemed that Xianyang was intentionally saying this to sow discord between Qin Wendian and Zi Daoyang. And as expected, although Zi Daoyang's countenance didn't change, a cold light flickered in Qin Wendian's eyes. There was no need for Qin Wendian to think too much. Right now, everyone could tell that Zi Daoyang's appearance was to pull the relationship between him and Princess Qing closer. Although the spectators didn't know what his purpose was, the words spoken by Xianyang, in addition to the fact that Zi Daoyang wanted Qin Wendian to apologize, were sufficient to cause Qin Wendian to view Zi Daoyang with hatred. The relationship between the two of them would definitely be extremely bad, and there might even be a possibility of conflict in the future. At that time, there was no need for him, Xianyang, to act. Qin Wendian would definitely be in a miserable state when facing Zi Daoyang. "You still have the face to cause trouble here?" Qin Wendian mocked. Momentarily, the countenance of Xianyang, who had his back facing Qin Wendian, grew even colder. Although the battle today wasn't interrupted by Zi Daoyang, everyone could tell that he, Xianyang, and Shaolin Yue had both been defeated. There was no way to determine a victor between him and Qin, while Qin Wendian had already injured Shaolin Yue. The two alliance leaders of the Twin Stars Alliance had lost to the newly established Qin sect. Daoyang Gij. Shaolin Yue inclined her head, staring at Zi Daoyang in the air. "Lin Yue, you and I can be considered acquaintances. Qing is the daughter of my uncle, Changqing the Great. Take this defeat as a lesson. Let's end this grudge here," Zi Daoyang spoke to Shaolin Yue. Although Shaolin Yue was very disappointed, since Zi Daoyang had already said so, what else could she do? She could only nod her head. This matter ends here. The geniuses of the immortal realms all came to the city of ancient emperors to raise their strength. The inheritances left behind by the ancestors are naturally our main targets. Now that there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance in the underworld mountains, let's all prepare to head there, Zi Daoyang calmly spoke. First, there was the appearance of the god's hand, and now there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. This is a sign of great luck, and I'm afraid there will be even more powerful storms in the future. The expressions of everyone stiffened when they heard Zi Daoyang's words. His words weren't wrong. Occasionally, there would be the appearance of the inheritances of the ancestors in the city of ancient emperors, and the geniuses would all head there to temper themselves. However, it was extremely rare for things to be like today, with news of two ancient emperors appearing one after the other, as well as the appearance of an ultimate art. If this wasn't a sign of great luck, what could it be? This indicated that the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors all had their own luck. Maybe there would really be an extremely rare opportunity that would appear one after another. This matter has ended. I'll take my leave first. If there's anything you need in the future, feel free to look for me. Zi Daoyang spoke to Qing. Zi Daoyang spoke to Qing. After that, his silhouette flickered as he directly departed the area, exuding an air of elegance. Qing's countenance was cold. Upon seeing Qin Wendian turning his gaze to her, Qing's beautiful eyes flickered with a luster as she replied in a melodious voice, "I don't know him." "Silly lass." Qin Wendian laughed. After that, he held Qing's hand, as though he was declaring his sovereignty. This scene undoubtedly confirmed the relationship between him and the daughter of the Changqing the Great, Princess Qing. However, the spectators still didn't know what Zi Daoyang's intentions were. If Zi Daoyang truly wanted to pursue Princess Qing, Qin Wendian would undoubtedly have an extremely terrifying love rival. In all aspects, Zi Daoyang was superior to Qin Wendian. Even if the Changqing the Great was the one to choose, he would definitely choose the son of Zi Daoyang. Xian Yang and Xiao Lingyue stood together, with the members of the Twin Stars Alliance. Xian Yang coldly stated, "Qin Wendian, just hide behind a woman forever." After speaking, he flicked his sleeves, and with an expression of reluctance, he led the members of the Twin Stars Alliance away in an imposing manner. The general of a defeated army is still so arrogant? How laughable! Qin Wendian emotionlessly spoke, his words causing Xian Yang's aura to fluctuate violently. He felt extremely unhappy in his heart. This Zi Daoyang is truly arrogant. Who does he think he is? Just the sight of him pisses me off. Jun Mengchen walked over and cursed in a low voice. It seemed that he, too, was extremely unhappy after seeing Zi Daoyang's attitude earlier. He hated himself for being too weak in the city of ancient emperors. If not, he would definitely have ruthlessly fought a great battle against that arrogant fellow. The number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, the son of Zidi. How can such a character not be arrogant? It's just that he's too arrogant, Zi Qingxian added. Zi Qingxian also spoke. From Zi Daoyang's words and actions, it was as though as long as he was here, everyone would have to listen to his commands. He wanted Xian Yang to stop, wanted Qin Wendian to apologize, and only didn't persist because of Qin. It was as though they still owed Zi Daoyang a favor. "Sis Qingxian, she has the same surname as you. Could it be that you guys are from the same clan?" Jun Mengchen joked, his words causing Zi Qingxian to glare at him. Although Zi Daoyang is arrogant, it's rumored that he's extremely powerful. Xian Yang might be ranked number 4 in the Immortal Ascension rankings, and is only 3 ranks away from Zi Daoyang, but in terms of combat prowess, the disparity is too great. Xian Yang doesn't even have the courage to refute Zi Daoyang, Hua Taishu calmly stated. Confidence stemmed from strength. Those who dared to be arrogant definitely had the qualifications to be arrogant. Zi Daoyang was precisely such a person. You're right. If they really fought, I'm afraid Xian Yang wouldn't even be able to withstand a single attack from Zi Daoyang. Their strength isn't even on the same level. This means that if Zi Daoyang acted against you guys, the 5 of you would be easily destroyed by him. A voice rang out, filled with impoliteness. When Qin Wendian glanced at the person who spoke, he didn't doubt the other party's words. Because the person who spoke was none other than the number 3 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Nam Huang Yunxi. Given her ranking, she would definitely have some understanding of Zi Daoyang's strength and was qualified to make such an evaluation. So what? When senior brother Qin breaks through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he would still be able to defeat Zi Daoyang with his god's hand. Jun Mengchen was unconvinced. How can it be so easy? Nam Huang Yunxi continued. When Zidaoyang said that Qin Wenyan wouldn't be his opponent even if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he wasn't exaggerating. Although the god's hand is powerful, it isn't invincible. It still has to depend on how much energy you've comprehended. Also, the god's hand isn't the only thing that appeared in the ruins of the city of ancient emperors. You're saying that Zidaoyang has also obtained an inheritance left behind by an ancient emperor? Qin Wendian asked. Zidaoyang's strength is already extremely terrifying. Zidi is one of the peak-stage immortal emperors in the immortal realms, and the energy he cultivates is extremely powerful. Don't think that just because you guys have the god's hand, you'll be able to dominate those at the same level. Nam Huang Yunshi continued. In addition, Zidaoyang said that that person has already entered the underworld mountains for a very long time, and there's a high possibility that he might have obtained some treasures. If he really didn't die in the underworld mountains, his current strength wouldn't be any weaker than Zidaoyang's. Qin Wenyan didn't dare to underestimate the geniuses of the immortal realms. The immortal realms were simply too vast, and the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors were only a portion of the total number of geniuses in the immortal realms. There were also many geniuses who had come here before, as well as those who were at the immortal foundation realm and above. You came here? Zi Qingxian stared at Nam Huang Yunshi as she asked. I'll enter the underworld mountains. However, the underworld mountains are known as a forbidden ground in the city of ancient emperors. If you guys want to enter as well, I wish to travel together with you. Why don't I join your Qin sect? How about it? Nam Huang Yunshi spoke, her words causing the gazes of the crowd to tremble. Nam Huang Yunshi, she wanted to join the Qin sect? Evidently, the battle between Qin and Qin Wenyan had already gained Nam Huang Yunshi's approval. Facing the unknown dangers of the underworld mountains, the Qin sect was undoubtedly an extremely good ally. Although they didn't have many members, they had 2 peak-level elites. There was no other power more suitable than the Qin sect. Welcome. Qin Wendian nodded his head in agreement. If Nam Huang Yunshi joined, the Qin sect would instantly rise to another level, becoming a truly influential power in the city of ancient emperors. Even if there were only 6 members, it was already sufficient. He had no reason to reject this. The crowd glanced over. 2 supreme beauties, the number 3 ranker Nam Huang Yunshi and the number 5 ranker Princess Qing, as well as Qin Wendian who could defeat Shaolin Yue. This lineup was truly powerful. I want to join the Qin sect as well. At this moment, someone called out. Me too, I want to join the Qin sect. More and more geniuses stepped out. Now that the Qin sect had 2 supreme beauties, in addition to the battle earlier, it wouldn't be long before the Qin sect surpassed the Twin Stars Alliance. Chapter 935. Qin Wenyan swept his gaze over these geniuses as he laughed. Although the Qin sect has just been established, we won't randomly recruit new members. Those who join the Qin sect are all my brothers, and once you join, you are not allowed to leave. Also, you have to listen to my commands absolutely, and those who disobey will not be forgiven lightly. Are there any more people who wish to join the Qin sect? Just when Jun Mingchen wanted to speak, he saw Qin Wendian saying what he wanted to say. He couldn't help but laugh. What a joke! When the Qin sect was in danger, no one cared about them. But now that they had repelled their enemies, and Princess Qing and Qin Wenyan had defeated the alliance of Xian Yang and Shaolin Yue, in addition to Nam Huang Yunshi joining them, these people still wanted to flock over to them? What was the point of recruiting so many people who weren't of the same mind, each with their own ulterior motives? The countenances of the crowd froze, and someone asked, Brother Qin, why didn't I hear any of your requests for Nam Huang Yunshi to join us? Qin Wenyan laughed carefreely. If you guys have her ranking, I have no objections either. In fact, I don't have any requests for her to be in the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Staring at the carefree smile on Qin Wentian's face, the geniuses shook their heads helplessly. They could understand what Qin Wendian was thinking. 4 ordinary geniuses who joined the Qin sect. If they encountered danger, Qin Wendian, Nam Huang Yunshi, and the others would be there to protect them. But if they encountered benefits, they would want to take a slice of the soup as well. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Forget it, forget it. Right now, the city of ancient emperors is no longer peaceful. Zi Daoyang has also said that a storm is brewing in the underworld mountains, and the ancient ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor have been discovered. Everyone, do you want to form an alliance and prepare to explore the underworld mountains together? That's right, the underworld mountains are known as a land of death. Many people have entered there and were unable to exit, but no army has ever been sent there before. Now that there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, the commotion would surely sweep across the entire city of ancient emperors. I don't believe that the underworld mountains would be able to trap an army of geniuses. More and more people spoke up one after another. They seemed to be filled with fighting spirit. Qin Wendian didn't say anything. Although he had entered the underworld mountains before, he had only stayed there for a short period of time. He knew very little about the underworld mountains, and he hadn't even observed them carefully. If he were to take the liberty of advising others not to head there, others might even mock him for wanting to secretly lead the Qin sect there to seize the fateful encounter. The Qin sect has just been established, we won't be accepting new members for now. Everyone, please feel free to leave. Qin Wendian waved his hands, signaling for the guests to leave. Namhuang Yunshi, the Qin sect only has the 6 of us now. You can choose any place you like. Qin Wendian smiled at Namhuang Yunshi as he watched the crowd leave. Namhuang Yunshi nodded her head as she asked, "When do we set off?" "Since you've already joined the Qin sect, I naturally won't hide anything from you. Actually, I just exited the underworld mountains not long ago." The underworld mountains formed a separate dimension, akin to an illusory realm, hidden within the mountain range. When the true underworld mountains appeared, the terrain of the mountain range changed, resembling a land of the underworld. There's a mysterious energy that can slowly absorb the energy of stellar martial cultivators, making it extremely difficult to stay in the underworld mountains for long periods of time. Qin Wendian spoke to Namhuang Yunshi. A strange light flashed in Namhuang Yunshi's eyes as she asked, "How did you guys exit the underworld mountains?" "Qin has a spatial treasure," Qin Wendian replied. "Seems like my decision to join the Qin sect was the correct one. Since that's the case, there's nothing to worry about. Bring more Yuan meteor stones with you, and use them to absorb astral energy at any time. In the earlier battle, you guys looted the interspatial rings of the old generals of the Shao sect, and your harvest was extremely bountiful. You definitely won't lack Yuan meteor stones." Namhuang Yunshi smiled. "Since this is the case, let's rest for today and set off tomorrow. Since the news has already spread, I'm afraid the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors will all flock there." Qin Wendian was decisive. Since Qin could exit the underworld mountains, there was no need for him to worry too much about her safety. It was just that little rascal was still in the underworld mountains, and he couldn't be at ease. That person was also in the underworld mountains. If he encountered little rascal, Qin Wendian's combat prowess wouldn't be able to be compared to that person. That person was the number 2 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings. "Right." Namhuang Yunshi nodded. After which, everyone descended to the ground, returning to the cultivation grounds of their respective courtyards to cultivate. Qin Wendian viewed time with extreme importance. The energy from God's hand had already dissipated after he defeated Shaolin Yue. He had to rebuild his divine energy once again. In the old location of the Shao sect, the Qin sect was extremely quiet. This was especially so when night fell. Only the sound of the waterfall could be heard. In one of the courtyards, Namhuang Yunshi stood with her hands clasped behind her back, staring at the sky. As a princess of the Namhuang clan, there was an immense pressure on her shoulders. She couldn't forget the instructions given to her by the Southern Phoenix matriarch. The 33 immortal realms had been peaceful for too long, and no one knew when a heaven-shaking war would erupt. She had to increase her strength as fast as possible, allowing herself to mature. As a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch, she had to establish her immortal foundation before the age of 100, and immortal king before the age of 10,000. The Southern Phoenix matriarch had once said that chaos would be a great era. The appearance of chaos meant that there would be many world-shaking characters appearing, stirring up the winds and waves, stirring up the winds and clouds of the world. At such a time, geniuses would always appear, and countless geniuses would contend against each other. Chaos would also be a great era. Nam Huang Yunshi was thinking that if chaos descended in this era, would she be able to carve out a place of her own in this era? Zi Daoyang, Qin Wenin, and that person, in addition to those who weren't in the city of ancient emperors, would these people be inferior to her, Nam Huang Yunshi? Who? At this moment, Nam Huang Yunshi abruptly turned and stared behind her. However, she only saw the green mountains. There was no other silhouette, nor any aura. This scene caused Nam Huang Yunshi to furrow her brows as a strange light flashed in her eyes. Her perception was extremely sharp, and there shouldn't be any mistakes. However, there really wasn't any aura. Could it be that she had something weighing on her mind, causing her perception to be wrong? At the same time, in Qin Wentian's courtyard, in the cultivation ground, Qin Wenian was quietly cultivating. Qin sat on a boulder at the foot of a green waterfall, facing Qin Wenian. Her crystal-clear eyes stared at Qin Wenian, but there seemed to be something weighing on her mind. She was contemplating something. Although Qin wasn't very experienced in the world, it was precisely because of this that her thoughts were simpler. However, she was also very sensitive and could sense things that others couldn't. She could faintly sense that Zi Daoyang's appearance today was truly because of her. However, she was a total stranger to Zi Daoyang. What was Zi Daoyang's purpose? For someone like Zi Daoyang, he wouldn't lack beauties. Even for Shaolin Yue, if he used some methods, he would be able to obtain her easily. Hence, if he wanted to get close to someone, it wouldn't be purely because of their beauty. Qin suddenly thought of her father, the evergreen immortal emperor. When she stared at Qin Wenin, traces of worry could be seen on her beautiful face. However, when she saw that Qin Wenian didn't know anything and was completely immersed in his cultivation, Qin's countenance gradually softened, no longer cold. Her watery eyes flickered with a hint of warmth. The night was no longer cold. In the morning, the air in the mountain range still seemed to be slightly foggy. In the rolling mountain range, it should have been extremely quiet. However, there were suddenly many figures today. They were in groups of 3 to 5, walking between the mountain range and heading towards the depths of the mountain range. These people were none other than the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors who had received the news, and they were all heading towards the underworld mountains. Although the underworld mountains had the reputation of being a forbidden ground in the city of ancient emperors, when there were too many people, one's guts would naturally be bolder. This was especially so for geniuses. None of them would admit that they were cowardly. Hence, since yesterday more and more people were rushing over here. In the ruins of ancient Emperor Yi, there was indeed an ultimate art, the god's hand. Not only that, it had already been cultivated by Qin Wenin. In that case, if the ruins of the extremely famous Brahma heavenly emperor were to be discovered, would the great Brahma art, which had also been lost, reappear in the immortal realms? If the great Brahma art appeared and was cultivated by them, even if they couldn't reach the level of the Brahma heavenly emperor, they would still be able to become hegemons of an area. No one would feel that they were too weak to cultivate it. This was especially so for the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wenian and his group also entered the mountain range. Qin Wenian, Qin, Nam Huang Yunshi, Jun Mingchen, Zi Qingxian, and Hua Taishu. The 6 of them from the Qin sect had arrived together. Everywhere they passed, the number of people turning their heads to look at them was the highest. Among the 6 of them, there were 3 stunning beauties. Zi Qingxian was already extremely beautiful, but Qin and Nam Huang Yunshi were a level higher. With such a lineup, how could they not attract the attention of others? Those who had heard of the battle yesterday could already guess their identities. But there were also many who hadn't received the news yet. Hence, they were all wondering who these 2 supreme beauties, Nanfeng Yunshi and Qin were exactly. The speed of the 6 of them was extremely fast. Qin Wenin was already familiar with the path, and very soon, they arrived at the outer perimeter of the underworld mountains. Many geniuses from the city of ancient emperors had gathered here, and they had all formed alliances. It was very rare to see a single person here. There was a high possibility of a battle breaking out, and at that time, it would be a battle of strength. Nam Huang Yunshi. At this moment, it was unknown who spoke. Momentarily, the gazes of the crowd all turned to Qin Wenyan and his group. Princess Qin as well. The number 3 and number 5 rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings have also arrived, another person added. These 6 people immediately became the focus of the crowd. Interesting, the people from the Twin Stars Alliance have arrived as well. The crowd turned their gazes in another direction, only to see the silhouettes of Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue. Xiaoling Yue's injuries seemed to have healed in a single day. It was unknown what heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures she had consumed. However, Greedwolf wasn't here. Without a year and a half, it would be hard for him to crawl back up again. Nam Huang Yunshi and Princess Qing have formed an alliance, while the Twin Stars Alliance has Xian Yang and Xiaoling Yue. Hey, it seems like we have to gather the others to form an alliance, one of the geniuses spoke to another. The strength of these 2 alliances was simply too shocking. Let's enter. Nam Huang Yunshi spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan nodded, and after which, they entered the depths of the underworld mountains. The others hesitated for a moment before following after. Nam Huang Yunshi and Princess Qing had already entered the underworld mountains. How could they be afraid of the slightest thing? Very swiftly, the army of geniuses from the city of ancient emperors entered the depths of the underworld mountains. When the fog appeared, the entire space was filled with a mysterious aura, after which the true underworld mountains appeared before their eyes, exuding a cold intent. Chapter 936. Underworld Mountain. The geniuses instantly discovered that this was the true underworld mountain. In a short period of time, they could also feel the energy in their bodies slowly dissipating. Hua Taishu's samsara eyes appeared. He stared at this illusory space, wanting to see through it with his own eyes. However, even with his samsara eyes, he could only see a ball of fog. How could he be able to see through the secrets of the underworld mountain? Nam Huang Yunshi, you're here. At this moment, a silhouette flickered, appearing before Nam Huang Yunshi. The eyes of this young man gleamed with a demonic light. His forehead and nose bridge were extremely tall, different from ordinary humans. However, his eyes were extremely sharp, and when he swept his gaze over the crowd, traces of baleful qi could be seen. Demonic qi, this person is a demon. Qin Wenyan could sense that this person was a demon. Ordinary humans wouldn't dare to get so close to Nam Huang Yunshi. Qin Wenyan searched through his memories and instantly thought of a person on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Zhan Peng, ranked number 7 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. His true form was a demonic bird. What's the matter? Nam Huang Yunshi glanced at Zhan Peng as she asked. Why are you hanging out with these mortals? Follow me and roam the underworld mountain together. Zhan Peng spoke to Nam Huang Yunshi. You and I are the most suitable pair to be together. The surrounding people all had expressions of interest on their faces. This was especially so for Zhan Peng. He actually said that Qing and Qin Wenyan were mortals. Could it be that he didn't know that Princess Qing was ranked above him? And Qin Wenyan had also defeated Xiaoling Yue, who was ranked above him? However, this Zhan Peng had always been stubborn and arrogant, doing whatever he wanted. Zhan Peng was a bird, an extremely common bird species. He had the noble bloodline of Nam Huang Yunshi, but his heart was higher than the heavens. He wholeheartedly wished to cut down the monarch of the skies, the rock god bird, and replace him. He had always believed that only Nam Huang Yunshi's ancient phoenix bloodline was worthy of him, and that she should be with him. There was once someone who joked that Zhan Peng was a chicken begging for a phoenix, that he really didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. However, the person who said this was cruelly slaughtered by Zhan Peng. Everyone only dared to mock him in their hearts, but no one dared to underestimate Zhan Peng's strength. Scram! Nam Huang Yunshi said coldly, looking at Zhan Peng with disdain. This Zhan Peng was just a bird-type demonic beast, yet he always thought that he was incomparably noble, causing others to feel disgusted. Zhan Peng, how could the princess of the Nam Huang clan like you? You'd better come over and form an alliance with me. Otherwise, you won't even know what's going on when you suffer a loss. Not far away, a person called out. The person who spoke was emaciated and gave off a sinister feeling. Some geniuses instantly recognized this person. It was none other than the number 8 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Bone Devil. Beside Bone Devil stood an ordinary-looking woman, yet her demeanor was extraordinary. Her eyes were sharp as she stared at Nam Huang Yunxi and Qing. Not only were these two supreme beauties, their rankings were also near the top. This Zhan Peng truly didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Most probably, he still didn't know that this group of people wasn't someone he could afford to antagonize. Seems like Bone Devil has formed an alliance with Su Ruxue, and there's also Kuan Nu. What a powerful lineup. The crowd was speechless when they saw the three of them. Behind Su Ruxue stood a bald monk. It was none other than Kuan Nu. These three were ranked number 8, number 9 and number 10 respectively. Since all of them had arrived, it seemed like the news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's ruins had drawn everyone here. Elites formed alliances with other elites, while the other geniuses formed alliances with each other. Shut up. Zhan Peng coldly glanced at Bone Devil. He then turned to Nam Huang Yunxi and spoke, I was born extraordinary, I'm destined to become the sovereign of the skies in the immortal realms. Nam Huang Yunxi, you possess the bloodline of the ancient phoenix, we are a match made in heaven. The surrounding geniuses wanted to laugh, yet they didn't dare to. This Zhan Peng's stubbornness was something he had inherited from his father. This stubbornness also allowed his father to cultivate from an ordinary bird into a demon emperor. Few people dared to antagonize him, and he could be considered a legend in the immortal realms. Demonic beasts were different from humans. Stellar martial cultivators depended on their hard work and luck to grow stronger. Their comprehension abilities might also grow stronger with time. However, the talent of demonic beasts was already determined from the moment they were born. A divine bird would always be a divine bird. No matter how much an ordinary bird cultivated, it would still be hard for them to achieve anything. Qin Wenyan also felt that something was strange, but he was also silently impressed by Zhan Peng's self-confidence and stubbornness. Such stubbornness would often lead to achievements that ordinary people couldn't achieve. From the depths of his heart, he felt that Nam Huang Yunxi was a match made in heaven with him. I told you to scram. Nam Huang Yunxi's countenance turned even colder as a cold intent gushed forth from her. This Zhan Peng actually dared to say that they were a match made in heaven? Nam Huang Yunxi, if we were to be together, we would surely become a legend. Zhan Peng's stubbornness had far surpassed Qin Wentian's imagination. In fact, it even caused him to feel some disgust. This was especially so since Nam Huang Yunxi was after all a woman, and a woman with a noble bloodline. Zhan Peng even said that he wanted to be together with her. Boom! A terrifying aura gushed forth. Nam Huang Yunxi was truly angered. This caused Zhan Peng's expression to flicker. Although he was stubborn, he also knew that it was impossible for him to defeat the number 3 ranker Nam Huang Yunxi. He could only reply, since you still haven't thought things through, you can take your time to consider my words. I'll take my leave first. After speaking, Zhan Peng's silhouette flickered as he sped away. Nam Huang Yunxi's aura gradually retracted, but a cold light still flickered in her eyes. This man is truly interesting, Jun Mingchen spoke in a low voice. His original form is that of a bird, and his personality is extremely stubborn. If I didn't know that this was his nature, I would definitely not spare him. Nam Huang Yunxi coldly spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flicker. He smiled and glanced at Nam Huang Yunxi who was beside him. Who would have thought that the cold and arrogant princess of the Nam Huang clan would actually have such a kind heart? Nam Huang Yunxi's beautiful eyes flashed as she stared at Qin Wenyan in bewilderment. No one had ever said such things about her before. Maybe it was because of her cold and arrogant personality that no one could get close to, and no one had truly understood her. Let's go, many people have already gone there. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze towards the direction of the blood-colored mountain rampart. Over there, a figure could be seen standing. This figure was none other than the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. Bzz. A figure dashed towards the mountain rampart, but was instantly blasted out. This figure was none other than Zhan Peng. His body slumped to the ground as his countenance turned ashen. It's impossible to pass through this passageway, Zhan Peng stated. There must be another path to take. Zi Daoyang didn't say anything, he continued staring ahead. He was contemplating where he was now. If he managed to pass through this passageway, how did he do it? Could it be that he relied on his incomparably tyrannical and indestructible physique to pass through? Zi Daoyang mused in his heart. That ruthless person might really dare to do so, disregarding everything. If one couldn't withstand the pressure of the blood-colored mountain rampart, only death would await them. Ordinary people wouldn't even dare to barge in. It's very difficult to pass through with the strength of a single person, but it's a piece of cake for many people. These blood-colored runes are actually different types of innate techniques. Each of you can comprehend one of them and release your will at the same time, and you'll be able to pass through. An unhurried voice drifted out from the crowd. Everyone turned their gazes to the left and right, yet they couldn't find the person who had spoken. This caused a strange feeling to appear in their hearts. Could it be that there were other existences within the underworld mountains? In other words, if there's someone who comprehended all the runic inscriptions on this mountain rampart, they would be able to traverse it in an instant. Zi Daoyang calmly spoke, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. Was that ruthless able to accomplish this? But if that was the case, a lot of time would be wasted. The underworld mountains could absorb energy from a person's body. Unless one could resist against it, this method would undoubtedly be a foolish one. Yes, if you want to do this, no one will stop you. That cold voice drifted out once more. Zi Daoyang laughed heartily. Who are you, hiding your head but showing your tail? No one replied. That voice was like a pebble sinking into the ocean. Zi Daoyang's gaze turned to the crowd as he spoke. Everyone, please choose a type of rune to comprehend. We can only gather the strength of all the geniuses and dispel it within a short period of time. The geniuses nodded. Luckily, there were enough geniuses who had entered the underworld mountains this time around. It shouldn't be a problem for them to comprehend these runes. Let's try to comprehend them as well, Qin Wenyan spoke in a low voice. He really had no idea how little rascal had managed to pass through. Only to see Qin Wenyan closing his eyes as his perception gushed out, gushing towards the blood-colored runic mountain rampart. Instantly, a multitude of energies condensed and manifested, gushing towards him. Qin Wenyan's perception directly locked onto one of the energies as he started to comprehend the true intent within. The experts all closed their eyes to comprehend, guarding their hearts and minds. Gradually, the runic inscriptions on the blood-colored mountain rampart dimmed. The more people there were, the more power they could muster. An hour later, the entire mountain rampart fell silent. Zi Daoyang opened his eyes and stepped out. The others followed closely behind him, passing through the passageway of the mountain rampart. When Qin Wenyan walked through the passageway, his fingers touched the rampart as he felt a sense of wonder in his heart. What kind of person had created this? Before his eyes, there was a feeling of enlightenment. The terrain seemed to be even more vast than before. The gazes of the geniuses all trembled as they stared ahead. There seemed to be two completely different colors. One of them was dark and gloomy, like the netherworld, like a land of darkness and devils, exuding a tyrannical aura. The other side was the complete opposite. A brilliant light illuminated the skies, expelling all darkness. The aura it exuded was incomparably pure, like the aura of an emperor in the mortal world. These two completely opposite auras coexisted, as though they had been in a stalemate for countless years. Busy. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. This figure was clad in gray, and just by standing there casually, he gave off a feeling of unexcelled in the world. Wait, we can't enter like this. A voice rang out from his mouth. He opened his eyes and stared at the crowd. His eyes were empty, like the eyes of a dead person. However, just a single glance from him caused everyone to sink into the depths of his eyes. It was like the might of the heavens, as though he could kill them with a single glance. A gust of wind gusted by as the figure directly appeared before Zi Daoyang. You guys have violated the rules. Senior. Zi Daoyang wanted to speak, but he only saw the figure stretching out his hand. His movements were so fast that even the naked eye couldn't see them clearly. In the blink of an eye, Zi Daoyang was grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. This scene caused the hearts of everyone to tremble, and they felt as though they were about to stop breathing. Chapter 937. Zi Daoyang was the son of Zidi, the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. But at this moment he was being held by the neck in the air. It was as though that old man could take his life with a single thought. All the geniuses were incomparably nervous. The eyes of the gray-robed old man stared at Zi Daoyang, as though he could see through Zi Daoyang with a single glance. Boom! An intense fluctuation abruptly gushed out as a voice rang out from Zi Daoyang's body. Sir, who are you? This isn't Zi Daoyang's voice. The expressions of the crowd trembled. Zidi, it must be the immortal Emperor Zidi of the immortal realms. The eyes of the old man could see through everything. He was still staring at Zi Daoyang. In his eyes, the silhouette of Zidi appeared. Puma, and who are you? The gray-robed old man still didn't release Zi Daoyang. His voice was filled with the vicissitudes of time. He had forgotten who he was, forgotten everything. This seat is Zidi of the immortal realms. My son is here to temper himself. I hope that you can show mercy to him. Zidi's voice rang out again. The eyes of the gray-robed old man flashed as he faintly spoke. Zidi, your strength isn't bad. Should I release your son? He seemed to be mumbling to himself. Zi Daoyang radiated a terrifying aura, yet the gray-robed old man's palm was filled with boundless might. The entire space was filled with an extreme pressure. He stared into Zi Daoyang's eyes and spoke. Zidi, are you resisting me? Forget it. Since your son is already here, I'll release him. After speaking, the gray-robed old man flung Zi Daoyang's body far away. Upon seeing this scene, the hearts of the crowd trembled. Before this old man, let alone Zi Daoyang, he didn't even care about Zidi. Naturally, it was also possible that this mysterious old man had already forgotten everything. He didn't know anything at all. However, such an existence still remained here. Why exactly was he doing this? The gaze of the mysterious old man turned to the geniuses. His empty eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's eyes with a single glance. Too weak. What's the point of having so many weak people here? The old man sighed, causing everyone to be speechless. These geniuses of the city of ancient emperors were actually said by this mysterious old man to be too weak. What sort of characters were these geniuses in the eyes of this mysterious old man? Forget it, let's leave it to fate. The mysterious old man sighed again. After that, he soared into the air and pointed at the place where the pure Emperor Qi was. His silhouette flickered as he directly disappeared. The crowd couldn't even see how he left. His speed was so fast that they couldn't even follow him with their eyes. What an old monster! Jun Mengchen mumbled, silently heaving a sigh of relief. As the sound of his voice faded, he suddenly felt a terrifying might descending from the skies. Jun Mengchen's countenance stiffened. He only saw a palm descending from the skies, directly lifting him up. Mengchen. Qin Wentian's expression changed. Senior, please show mercy. Among these people, you can be considered one of the stronger ones. I won't kill you, you can go over as well. With a flick of the palm, Jun Mingchen's body was directly flung forward, towards the gray region. The palm directly vanished, as though no one had ever been here. Such might caused everyone to shut their mouths, not daring to say anything more. Let's go. Everyone continued forward, staring at the two different auras soaring up into the clouds. Many questions appeared in the hearts of everyone. Was this place really the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? These two completely different auras were both left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Or could it be that other than the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, there was another ancient emperor's remnant here? Finally, the crowd arrived at the center of the two different auras. These were the remnants of two ancient caves. On the left was a gloomy and cold gray aura, while on the right was a pure emperor chi that shone with boundless golden light. Upon arriving here, everyone couldn't help but hesitate. Where should they go? Little rascal is inside. Qin Wendian stared at the gray cave. This ancient cave was located here, and its aura towered up into the sky. This was a remnant left behind by an ancient emperor countless years ago, yet it still exuded such a majestic aura. This should be left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. The crowd stared at the aura on the left. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor was once a ruthless character whose name shook the immortal realms. He had once killed 8 immortal emperors in a single battle. How terrifying was he? His aura would definitely be filled with a towering coldness, incomparably tyrannical, just like the aura on the left. Where do you guys want to go? Qin Wendian asked. Qin didn't reply. She naturally chose to follow Qin Wendian. I want to go to both sides. I don't mind. Hua Taishu calmly spoke. I will go to the right, Mingchen should be there. Zi Qingxian spoke when she sensed the pure aura. I want to go to the right as well. Nam Huang Yunxi spoke. In that case, Qin and I will go to the left. Nanfeng, the three of you will go to the right. Nanfeng, please take care of the others. Qin Wendian spoke. He definitely had to see how little rascal was doing. Chen would be with him, and Nanfeng was strong enough to take care of the other 3. Nam Huang Yunxi nodded. After which, the 6 of them split up. Qin Wendian and Qin walked to the left. There were people heading to the left and right as well. There were more people heading to the left. This was naturally because of the rumors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. The deeds of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor were simply too shocking. Qin Wendian and Qin stepped into the cave. This cave seemed to be formed naturally, but the aura it exuded was something that was formed later on. Upon entering the cave, there were many corpses on the ground. This caused the crowd to feel nervous. Seems like this place wasn't so easy to enter. If they were the slightest bit careless, their lives might be in danger. Ancient coffins. At this moment, the crowd saw that there were a few stone platforms in front of the cave. There were actually coffins there. These coffins were forged from special materials and wouldn't decay even after tens of millions of years. Zi Daoyang is over there. At this moment, the crowd saw Zi Daoyang sitting cross-legged at the side of the cave, as though he was resting with his eyes closed. What's wrong with him? What's inside these coffins? The crowd walked forward step by step. An instant later, someone walked towards the coffins and peered inside. The eyes of the geniuses turned to that person, only to see his eyes peering into the coffins. A miserable scream rang out as that person retreated explosively, directly slamming into the ground. This scream was extremely miserable, causing numerous gazes to land on him. Everyone only saw that the eyes of that person were bleeding, an extremely terrifying sight to behold. What's that? The countenances of the crowd froze as they stared at the coffins. The other geniuses who wanted to glance at the coffins all halted their steps, not daring to take another step forward. Boom! The hearts of the crowd pounded as a strange sound rang out from within the coffins. After which, they saw a pair of hands placed on the sides of the coffin. This pair of hands was incomparably pale, without a hint of blood. A cold and sinister aura enveloped the entire cave, causing everyone to feel nervous. After which, the crowd saw a head popping out from the coffin. This head turned and stared at the crowd. With just a single glance, everyone felt an intense pain in their eyes, as though they had been pierced by a blood-colored arrow. A powerful will directly gushed into the minds of the crowd, and they felt as though they had fallen into a blood-colored world. A terrifying figure that seemed like a sovereign of the world stood before them, wielding a blood-colored long hair, as though it was passing judgment on them. Qin Wendian was the same as everyone else. When that pair of eyes turned over, everyone experienced the same thing. He struggled to break free as he stared fixedly at the figure in the coffin. This was an incomparably majestic figure that seemed to be the hegemon of the world, exuding boundless divine might. 8 coffins. Qin Wenyan noticed that there were 8 coffins in the cave. This meant that there were 8 such existences. Great Emperor. A terrifying voice rang out in Qin Wenyan's mind. These 8 existences, were they the 8 peak stage immortal emperors who had died in battle back then? Their corpses were placed here by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Dong. Terrifying sounds could be heard as strange movements could be heard from the other 7 coffins. Numerous hands appeared next to the coffins, and numerous figures appeared, standing up from the coffins. The instant they opened their eyes, they all emitted an unparalleled aura. Boom. One of them stepped out. With a thunderous boom, all the geniuses in the cave were crushed to the ground, prostrating themselves, including Zi Daoyang, who had his eyes closed in meditation. Among the crowd, the number 8 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Bone Devil, struggled to walk forward. His eyes were fixed on a figure that crawled out of a coffin. This figure radiated a dazzling light, and there seemed to be a mysterious energy within it. Junior Bone Devil pays my respects to Ancestor. Gu Mo knelt on the ground and respectfully kowtowed to the figure. However, the figure's body trembled, and suddenly, an arm seemed to appear from nothingness, directly grabbing Gu Mo and lifting him up. The pair of empty eyes stared at Gu. Ancestor, I'm from the Bone race, your descendant. Bone Devil's countenance drastically changed as he shouted. This Bone Devil is a member of the Bone race that has existed for countless years in the immortal realms. The figure that walked out of the coffin is actually an ancestor of Bone Devil. This is an immortal emperor, the immortal emperors who were killed by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor back then. To think that their bodies weren't destroyed. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor brought them here and placed them in these coffins, someone exclaimed in shock. Immortal emperors, 8 immortal emperors. Have they all died? In that case, what was this figure that appeared before them? Did the Brahma Heavenly Emperor refine them into puppets? Upon thinking of this, the hearts of the crowd pounded. Immortal Emperor puppets. The ancestor of the Bone race stared at Bone Devil, his empty eyes devoid of any emotions. Did he still have any remnant consciousness? Boom! The ancestor of the Bone race flung Bone Devil's body through the air, slamming heavily into the wall. Bone Devil's broken bones healed as he inclined his head and stared at his ancestor. A look of reluctance could be seen in his eyes. His ancestor was actually refined into a puppet by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Brahma Heavenly Emperor, you are so ruthless. Is your inheritance here? Bone Devil stared into the depths of the cavern. Inheritance? What kind of ability is the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Out of all the ancient emperors in the immortal realms, only a few could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Brahma Heavenly Emperor in the ancient records. He was proficient in more than just one type of ability. The hearts of everyone trembled. If the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was really here, what kind of storm would it cause? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.